the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 7 o'clock. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Thursday, February the 5th. The stutter there. February, that's the date. It is Thursday, February the 5th. Here's what's coming up. Can Keir Starmer cling on, or will this disastrous Prime Minister soon be gone? Faster than you can say Angela Rayner. He says Peter Mandelson assured him that he barely knew Jeffrey Epstein and that he decided it was fine and dandy in that case to appoint his loathsome lordship as Britain's ambassador in Washington. But at the same time, squirming Starmer admits that he knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's New York home while the depraved billionaire was serving a prison sentence for paedophile child sex offences. Does that sound like Mandy barely knew Epstein? Two-tier Keir insists he is a victim of Mandelson's lies. But doesn't it sound suspiciously like the Prime Minister is lying too? 0344 499 1000. In other news, the latest on the downhill plummet of that awful oath, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the Home Secretary's shocking admission that the number of small boat crossings is unlikely to decline anytime soon. My special guest, grooming gang survivor Ellie Reynolds, Rupert Lowe on his own crowd-funded rape gang inquiry that shames Labour's lethargy, Barrister Stephen Barrett, author and columnist Jake Wallace-Simon, Reform UK superstar Sarah Poshin, and I'm putting Mandelson on the psychiatrist's couch. Is he a psychopath or worse? Stay tuned to find out all that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday afternoon together. And without further ado, let's go straight over to my first guest. Really pleased she's here. Sarah Poshin, Reform MP. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Kevin. Really good to join you this afternoon.
You are up there campaigning, but for technical reasons, we won't discuss that local election that you're knocking on doors for at the moment. But I want to get you. I want to get you on the big issues of the day, and of course, the biggest issue is the future of the Prime Minister. I think, as I just laid out in my monologue there, he's portraying himself as a victim of Peter Mandelson's, tissue of lies. And I don't doubt, none of us doubt, that Mandelson lied and lied and lied throughout his wretched career. But he also admitted, the Prime Minister yesterday in Question Time, Prime Minister's Questions, he admitted that he knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's New York home while Epstein was serving a prison sentence for child sex offences. Now, staying in someone's home while they're in prison, that does not indicate someone who barely knew Epstein, does it?
Clearly not, Kevin. I was obviously there yesterday in Prime Minister's Question Time, and it was one of the weirdest experiences because the Labour benches were packed, but they were silent. They let Keir Starmer struggle and suffer and looked very, very weak at the dispatch box. And normally there's lots of shouting in support of their leader, but absolute silence yesterday. It was a very strange experience indeed, and you couldn't help but think you were watching a man that was, slowly dying, let's put it that way, on his feet.
Yeah, and I think that it's a rare experience that the fine Reform MP MPs, the Labour MPs, the Tory MPs, the Lib Dem MPs, the Scottish National MPs were all as one. The Labour is just as furious as you and indeed British citizens about what this Prime Minister has done. What he clearly has done, what he's guilty of, is a grave error of judgment in knowing that Mandelson had continued a friendship with a convicted paedophile and then appointing him to the very sensitive role of ambassador to Washington. That's a disaster.
Kevin, you judge a man by who he keeps as his friends. And look, it was very clear, wasn't it, that Mandelson was a close friend of Jeffrey Epstein. And yet still, our Prime Minister appoints him to one of the most prestigious posts for the country, to be the representative of our great country to the United States of America, one of the most sought after and privileged positions in the establishment. And yet Keir Starmer refused to listen, I believe, to what he was being told by the people carrying out the vetting process. We read, it's out there for the public to read in the papers, that he ignored the vetting advice that he was given, that the vetting advice was dumbed down to suit the Prime Minister in order for him to appoint Mandelson to this very, very high-profile role. But more than that, Kevin, he would have had access to the US information about the relationship between Mandelson and Epstein. And yet, did he ask for that? Did any of his team ask for that? This whole affair is about power. It's about greed. It's about corruption. It's about sexual abuse of women. And it is everything that the British public hates in the establishment.
Absolutely. Now, Keir Starmer was in Hastings waging his own battle this morning, his battle to survive. And here's what he had to say about the Mandelson affair.
I want to say this. I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again.
Let's just reiterate, Sarah. This man, the Prime Minister, knew that Peter Mandelson had continued his friendship with a convicted paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, and indeed had stayed in Epstein's New York home when Epstein was serving his prison sentence for child sex offences, and yet went on to appoint him as our man in Washington, the most sensitive diplomatic role in all of British government. And I understand, I'm hearing that the intelligence services, Britain's renowned intelligence services, are absolutely furious with the Prime Minister because they told him, they said, you can't give this job to Peter Mandelson. His history is too dubious, and his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein is an absolute red flag. You cannot give him this job, and he overruled them, just like he overruled them. I'm pointing this way because I'm pointing to where the mega Chinese embassy is going to be in the city, just across the river from Talk Towers, just like he overruled the intelligence services when they said, don't let the Chinese build their embassy here. This is not good enough from a Prime Minister. How close do you think he is to going? He must be clinging on by his fingernails.
Well, look, we saw him this morning, didn't we, in Hastings, apologising profusely for his own actions, as so he should. But what we saw there was the Prime Minister so weakened now. His backbenchers do not have confidence in him. And clearly yesterday, what you saw in the chamber was that his front bench also no longer has confidence in him. It's only a matter of time until he goes. His apologies this morning, I thought, sounded snivelling. They sounded sounded insincere. They sounded like he was trying to cover his own back and throw anybody else he possibly can under the bus. I personally am surprised that he hasn't thrown Morgan McSweeney under the bus yet today. Yesterday in Parliament, he was applauding him and telling us all what a key member of his team Morgan McSweeney is. But this morning, I was quite surprised not to hear in that press conference that he hadn't sacked him. But again, I think it's only a matter of time that both of them will go. As you say, I'm up here fighting the by-election in support of our party at the moment, but I don't think this Prime Minister will be in position long enough to actually even find out the results of this by-election.
You think it'll be gone now? When is the election? At the end of February? You're in Gordon and Denton, of course.
That's right, February 26th. If he can cling on to then, I'd be absolutely staggered. And if he does, it is of sheer stubbornness. And it is not the man. We should have a statesman Prime Minister. A Prime Minister is about having, when you're Prime Minister, you need the people behind you, you need the people around you, and you need to act like a Prime Minister. Well, he has none of those three things at the moment. He should go.
I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, you know, if the Labour Party have got any sense at all, for their own sake, they have to get rid of this man. And they have to get rid of this man for the sake of the country. He has compromised national security twice. We know that. You cannot overrule the intelligence services when they say this is a bad move. He's done it for the mega embassy, the Chinese embassy in the City of London. And now he's done it, or now we know he did it when he appointed Peter Mandelson very ill-advisedly to the role of Washington ambassador. Let me know, Sarah, what you know, we all knew, I'm sure you did too, everybody, you know, knows that Peter Mandelson was never a very nice man, slithering little prince of darkness. Everybody's got a nasty story about him. In my profession, most journalists can't stand him because his favourite trick, he did it to me once, I'm very friendly with your chief executive. You know, I'll have a word with them. You know, like he's always threatening people to go to their reporters, to go to their bosses. So that's the kind of loathsome little snake he was. No one in politics likes him at all. So when, you know, I'm not saying that everybody felt he was a great guy. We all knew he wasn't really. But are you shocked by the extent of his nefarious actions over the years, dating back to Blair's government?
What I'm shocked about is the fact that the Labour Party have kept him at the heart of their organisation, at the heart of power. You know, why would they keep people like this around? Somebody like Mandelson is a prime example of why the British public don't like politicians. You know, they see somebody like that who is clearly in it for his own good, for his own gain, not in it for the right reasons, not in politics to change lives for people, to make things better, to make this country run properly. He's in it for himself. How many lives has this man had? He's survived
He's a cat,
scandal, scandal after scandal after scandal. And you're right, the serious point here is that the Prime Minister has allowed sensitive state information to be passed from Mandelson to Epstein. And now, of course, there is this question mark, isn't there, about Russian involvement. And you mentioned the Chinese embassy. Look, who invites a hostile nation who wants to sabotage us, who wants to spy on us, into the very heart of their capital? So this Prime Minister is doing nothing to secure our borders, as we know, but doing absolutely nothing to secure our national security. And that should be his primary role.
And how would you feel about Angela Rayner being our next Prime Minister?
Well, bring it on.
You think things are bad now? Just you wait. Let me ask you this, move on a bit, Sarah. Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has disconcertingly refused to guarantee that small boat crossings, illegal small boat crossings of the English Channel, will drop by 2027. In other words, she's basically bringing on another record year of illegal migrants crossing the Channel, coming into Britain, and no doubt being put into hotels or wherever. So this is going to get worse and worse and worse. The Home Secretary, who only a month or so ago, beginning of December I think it was boasting about her tough crackdown on the asylum seeker crisis, the migrant crisis. I'm tough, I'm tough, I'm tough. Now she says, oh, well, I can't guarantee the boats are going to come down in 2027. She's not tough at all, is she?
She can say that rhetoric, safe in the knowledge that unless this country removes itself, comes out of the ECHR, then nothing, she says, nothing she puts forward as a policy will ever come to fruition. Only reform will come out of the ECHR. The Tories are now saying, oh, yes, we will. Well, they didn't, did they? For 14 years, they didn't. Only a reform government will leave the ECHR. Only a reform government will put aside the Human Rights Act. And only a reform government will stop this huge industry of human rights lawyers making millions at the expense of the British taxpayer. And if I can just say one thing to your listeners and viewers this afternoon, under this Labour government, already that we know about, up to 70,000 fighting age young men have come into this country illegally. Do you know that the size of our British Army at the moment, ready to put troops on the ground, is only 62,000. Now that in itself is a frightening statistic. Unless this government gets a grip of our borders, secures our borders, gets border force in the Channel, then before we know it, we are going to be overtaken by an invasion of young fighting age men that we can do nothing to control.
I agree with you. I think the grim prospect with Labour putting up, or the government putting up, no deterrence whatsoever, the grim prospect is this migrant crisis is going to escalate and get worse and worse and worse. It's quite extraordinary to me, Sarah, that we have a government that just does nothing. I mean, they don't have deterrence. They've got enticements. They are saying to all these migrants gathering on the North French coast, waiting for their turn on the small boats, they're saying, if you get here, we'll put you into a 4-star hotel, we'll give you £50 a week welfare benefits, we'll give you free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers to fight your case to stay, free driving lessons, free trampoline lessons, and God knows what else. It is absurd. It is bizarre, don't you think?
It's more than frustrating now. British people are angry. You know, British people traditionally are we are a tolerant nation. We always come to the aid of people genuinely in need. But the silent majority on this subject have now had enough. And look, the Green Party we all know one of their policies is open borders. The Liberal Democrats, the same, as well as wanting to take us back into Europe. The Conservatives spent 14 years of doing nothing about securing our borders. And the Labour Party, it's all rhetoric now from Shabama Mahmood, no action whatsoever. The British people know now that the only party left in which to put any hope of securing our borders, to send these illegal migrants back home, is reform.
Sarah, it's fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Sarah Pochin there, she is the Reform UK MP for Runcorn and Helmsby, but she is, of course, up there in the constituency of Gorton and Denton, where, as she said, the by-election will take place later this month. And election rules demand that I read out all of the candidates in that by-election. They are Nick Buckley, Advance UK, Charlotte Cadden, Conservative Party, Dan Clark, Libertarian Party, Matt Goodwin, Reform UK, Sebastian Moore, Social Democrat Party, Joseph Omichia, Rejoin EU, Jackie Piercy, Liberal Democrats, Hannah Spencer, Green Party, Angelica Stogia, Labour Party, Hugo Wills, Communist League, and Sir Oinkalot, the Monster Raving Loony Party candidate. There's another one here. No, it's the same one, Dan Clark, Libertarian Party. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Prince Andrew with the author who set the downhill slide of the former Prince Andrew and Fergie in motion, the brilliant Andrew Lowney. That next. Stay tuned.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I guess I should ask you, do you think it is time for Starmer to go? I mean, I think he's got to go now, hasn't he? Can he carry on or should he go? Let me know, 03444991000. Here's a voice note from Kelvin on that very issue.
Keir Starmer line, flipping heck. You've only got to look at all the lies before the elections, and then when he got in, everything changed. Started doing everything that wasn't in his manifesto. You know, the raiding pensioners, looking into people's bank accounts, seeing what money they can take off them in savings, stopping the energy bills. Everything they said they wouldn't do, he's turned around and done. He's just a complete, compulsive liar.
As Richard Littlejohn always says, the thing about Keir Starmer is he's a complete and utter lawyer. And that sums that man up. That's all he is, a sort of down-table lawyer. Let's go over to my next guest. We need to discuss the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he now is. Let's talk to Andrew Lowney, the author of the brilliant book entitled that first exposed the full horror of the nefarious lives of the former Prince Andrew and, of course, his awful wife, Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, as she was. Welcome, Andrew. If you can just bear with us, I'm going to play you a little bit of kind of grainy film. But the story here is the King stepped out in Essex today and was heckled by the crowd, shouting at him about, are you going to do something about Epstein's victims? So my question to you will be, when we've looked at this, or my point is that the poison that Andrew has planted, you know, within the heart of the royal family is beginning to take effect. Have a look at this.
Where did we get? I'm getting round the corner.
Yep. Yeah, so what he's saying there, it's not very clear, but he is saying, you know, are you going to help with the investigation into Epstein? Are you going to put your brother up? Are you going to get him to testify to Congress, and so on and so forth? So it is quite clear and evident that the awfulness of Andrew, and indeed Fergie, is affecting the popularity of the royal family, and hence the escalating kind of speculation that Andrew's behaviour has created an existential problem for our royal family.
It has. I mean, I think this is the most serious royal crisis I can think of as a historian in centuries. I mean, this is corruption right at the heart of the royal family, a senior royal protected by a monarch, possibly two monarchs, and that's all we know. A senior royal who could be charged with sex trafficking for misconduct in public office. And this is a scandal they brought on themselves. They haven't dealt with the problem of Andrew, which they could have done years ago. They've covered up for him. They've actually tried to suppress this story coming out, as I write in the book. I mean, they were sending legal letters to the press, putting pressure on the press, refusing them access to members of the royal family if they ran disparaging stories. I think that they now need to come clean, the royal family, about what they knew, when, what they did then and what they're going to do now, because it's clear this is becoming much bigger. The public are not satisfied by their response. I mean, frankly, sending him to a 5-bedroom house in Sandringham and ostensibly taking away his titles isn't going to do it.
Exactly right. And he, of course, skulked out of the Royal Lodge at Windsor a couple of nights ago and is in situ at Sandringham, where we hear, and I find this very strange, that the servants have been asked by the King whether or not they're prepared to serve their new resident, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and most of them have said no. Again, this is an extraordinary situation. You know, members of the royal family sort of begging servants, would you mind serving, you know, this awful brother of mine? But the servants turning around saying, sorry, Your Majesty, no deal, we're not going to do it.
Well, the peasants have revolted. I mean, Andrew is notorious for how badly he treats the people who are around him. I mean, he treats everyone badly, but particularly to people he feels he's superior to. And doesn't surprise me one little bit. He is only Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I don't think he's going to spend any time in Sandringham. I think that this is just a way to keep him out of public view, which clearly, you know, the optics of him riding around Windsor Great Park weren't great, and this is an attempt to try and disguise all that.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be off to the Middle East soon.
I wouldn't be surprised that apparently the King, in a rare moment of explosive fury, saw pictures of his brother doing another of his weird little horse rides around Windsor Great Park, and then saw pictures of Andrew driving off in his Range Rover, which always begs the question, where's he going? I want to know where he's going. But the King saw these pictures and said, that's enough, get him out of there, get him out of there. And we're told that Andrew, to this day, does not really understand what it is he's supposed to have done wrong.
Absolutely. I talked to a member of staff last week who said that he's not at all contrite. He feels he's a victim, can't understand anything. This is the problem, that he has no sense of self-awareness. I mean, he's clearly somewhere on the spectrum, because this isn't the behaviour of a normal person.
Yeah, now your brilliant book entitled The Decline and Fall of the House of York, in the process of that, I mean, the revelations in it were astonishing. The process of it, you obviously, as we all know in the business, you got legaled, so your lawyers didn't let you put it all in, but you personally must know stuff that could come out in the future that is going to be even more damaging to the royal family. The mind boggles.
We had about 40 pages that were taken out, including all the material on Mandelson and, I have to say, other British political figures. So I'm hoping that, you know, that some of that stuff may be restored. Some of the material the publishers didn't believe from one of my sources. It's all proved to be absolutely accurate. And so I hope we'll be able to put that material in too. I mean, this is a bigger story. It's not just about sexual and financial misdemeanors. It's about national security, the fact that Epstein was working for the Russians, that Andrew had basically had compromat on him and a number of other senior figures in British life. And I think there does need to be a proper investigation now into that. If Mandelson is being investigated for misconduct, then there's a case against Andrew. He was sharing confidential material with all sorts of people. Yeah. And it's now clear that there were many women who were trafficked to him. And so again, the Met, having tried to dodge this for several times, have really now got to investigate him.
Now, in terms of what you know, Andrew, that has not yet come out for legal reasons, if this stuff does come out, will it add fuel to the possibility of a criminal prosecution against Prince Andrew?
Absolutely. And I've offered material to the National Crime Agency. I mean, I do think HMRC should also be investigating him, but I have plenty of material, and some of it I hope we can use in the paperback. Some of it I'm very happy to give to the law enforcement. But yeah, absolutely, this is a very strong case for him to be charged.
Well, I read your book. I can't wait for the revised edition with all the new information in it. Last question to you. I mean, Hard to believe, but I think if there's one person in the world I can think of who's worse than the former Prince Andrew, that's his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, who's just odious, absolutely odious person. But a lot being made of the disgusting event of her taking her daughters to have lunch with Jeffrey Epstein on the day of his release. The day after he was released from prison for child sex offences, they had vegetable lasagna. He had a Paris chef in town to make this delicious feast. And people go, oh, Fergie, oh, it's so terrible. She took her little daughters there. How could she do that? How could she take her little girls to see this monster? They were 19 and 20. Yeah. They've got questions to answer as well, haven't they?
Absolutely. I mean, and also she managed to get Epstein to pay for first-class fares for
That's
them.
right. She sent him a special email. You are paying for this, aren't you?
Yeah, so I mean, she never put her hand in the pocket at all. Absolutely. I think the daughters have a lot to answer. I took a lot of that stuff out of the book, but I think it will be put back in now. I mean, the king is very wise not to keep them too close. And I've seen stories that they will not have roles under the new reign, and I think that's absolutely right. The best thing that the daughters can do is to renounce their titles and to retreat into private life and basically stay out of the radar. I'm not sure that's going to happen, though.
Well, yes, because the story that's been put out is, oh, they're innocent, the poor victims of their awful parents. I'm not so sure. When is your revised edition going to come out?
Comes out on the 21st of May.
21st of May. I'm counting the days.
Yeah.
We'll talk again before then, but great to have you on the show. Thank you. Andrew Lowney, the author who started it all, entitled The Decline and Fall of the House of York. If you haven't read it yet, read it. Your jaw will drop. Shall we take a quick call before we go to break? David in Gloucestershire. Hi, David. What would you like to say? You want to talk about Starmer?
Yeah, hi, Kevin. Yeah, very quickly, I think Starmer's not... Well, it's like all these politicians. When he says he's sorry, he doesn't mean he's sorry. He's sorry he got caught.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
That's the only thing he's sorry about. He's sorry he got caught. He's been sorry that the whole mess has landed right on his head, which is his own complete and utter fault. You know. And
the stats also goes for Mandelson, who's sorry he got caught yet again. Mandelson always gets caught. The Westminster gang, oh, he's so clever, the cleverest man in Westminster. Well, clever people don't get caught. He gets caught every single time with his trousers around his ankles. So I don't think he's that clever. I think he's a clown. He's got an intellect, popular. He was a good political operator, but is he clever? I don't think so. Yeah, I agree with you about Starmer, and I don't think he's going to last very long. Do you, David?
No, I don't think. But I did hear one of the commentators with Julia this morning, and they said, or I don't know whether it was Julia or with Ian actually, said something about the fact that, well, who wants the job now until after at least the May elections? That's the very minimum. Which I think there's probably a lot of truth in that. So to be honest with you, Angela or whoever else is being tied up, I don't think they're going to want to touch it with a barge pole till at least May. Probably then it's June, July.
After the local elections. I mean, that's the popular opinion. I just feel that the Mandelson scandal has accelerated events, and it is looking as if the Prime Minister clinging onto this job is a really, really slim prospect. Maybe he'll manage to get to May, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not gone within a week, frankly, the way things are going. David, good to talk to you. Thank you. Excellent call. David in Gloucestershire there. Let's go to break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Robert Bates from the Centre for Migration Control about that story that Shabana Mahmood refusing to say that the number of small boat crossings, illegal crossings of the Channel, will go down this year by 2027. That's great, isn't it? We'll talk to Robert next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. He is Robert Bates from the Centre for Migration Control. Welcome, Robert. Shabana Mahmood, talking at the Home Affairs Select Committee, offered no guarantee that there will be any reduction in the number of small boat crossings by the end of this year. I mean, that is so depressing, isn't it? I mean, beginning of December, she was hogging all the headlines. I'm the toughest Home Secretary yet, the big crackdown. Yeah, migrants won't be coming here under me, asylum seekers. Oh, we're going to move them all out of the hotels. It was all talk. It was all rhetoric. And now, when she's put on the spot, oh, I can't guarantee that the boats, number of boats coming across will be reduced. What she's saying is, stand by for another record year.
Oh, quite. And I think she would be lying if she said that she did think the numbers were going to come down, because frankly, if you look at anything this government has done, there's nothing to suggest there will actually be an impact on the numbers. But it was a very depressing appearance from her, I thought, this kind of sense of, oh, we'll maybe get round to sorting out this national security crisis sometime in the future. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but maybe eventually this huge issue that most of the electorates see as the most pressing issue facing the country, maybe we'll eventually get round to sorting. I thought across the board, actually, it was a very underwhelming performance from her. She didn't seem to grasp any of the figures as to what's going on when it comes to legal or illegal migration. It just seemed to be making things up as she went along. But what we do know is that this Labour government's set of ideas to tackle the Channel crisis really amounts to very, very little. We've heard a lot last week that Keir Starmer signed a flagship deal with China that would make it more difficult for engine parts to make it to the UK. But then you look at sort of eBay, other online purchasing sites, and you realise actually it's so easy to get your hands on a motor for a boat that the deal with.
So ridiculous, wasn't it? If only we'd have thought of talking to the Chinese about the migrant crisis before, we'd have solved it years ago. What a load of nonsense. Absolute claptrap. Now, the Home Secretary told the committee, in terms of the numbers, she said these are unacceptable and the numbers need to come down. And then she went on to say, what I would say is this is a fiendishly difficult problem to resolve. Well, agreed, but you are never going to resolve it, Shabana, unless you leave the European Convention on Human Rights. As long as we end up being subservient to a foreign court, the ECHR, the European Court on Human Rights, in every single asylum seeker case, in every single migrant crisis issue, we cannot solve this, can we?
No, it is only fiendishly difficult because we've got self-imposed obstacles. It's like trying to play a tennis game and deciding you're going to play it with one arm behind your back. This is really actually well within our own abilities to solve if we are prepared to take decisions that the current Labour government would consider beyond the pale. So that does include leaving the ECHR. It also includes making it impossible for illegal migrants to make judicial reviews of the decision to deport them. It entails scrapping immigration tribunals. It entails really clamping down on those pull factors and having a very strong detention policy, which currently isn't in place as well. All of these things are very, very simple and will have a direct impact on those individuals and the numbers coming across on the channel. But because of this kind of wishy-washy liberal mindset, this human rights mindset that really just holds huge sway across all of Whitehall, it really is impossible to see how Shabana Mahmood would decide to actually take any of these measures forward. And I think, unfortunately, we are now stuck in a malaise where probably by the time of the next election, we'll have seen, 350, 400,000 individuals come across the channel, and the numbers that we are removing is tiny. It's only about 4% of all individuals that have actually broken into the country via a small boat have been removed from the country. And that's, even if you include the burgeoning success of the France one in, one out deal, which, it isn't a success at all. It's been an absolute disaster for this country. It's seen more than we've returned. But, all of these things add up. And unfortunately, actually, we are now such an outlier when it comes to the rest of Europe and how we are approaching the illegal migration issue that, unfortunately, the numbers this year, 40, 45,000, I would guess, safe bet, And these all have long-term costs because, of course, these individuals then more often than not get given the right to stay in the country, burdens on welfare, social housing, and so forth. We're talking of billions of pounds here in long-term costs, and we really can't afford this kind of delay that we're seeing from the Home Secretary of, maybe next year it'll be sorted. No, we need action now.
Yeah, so she's saying, so last year, as you say, 45,000 or so came across the channel illegally. Since Labour came into power, that's about 70,000. But what she's saying, 45,000 this year, by this time next year, it'll probably be much more, because she's saying they won't be reduced. So we're talking about 50,000. The headline on this, if you ask me, Robert, is this. Successive Home Secretaries, and I'm not just talking about Labour, I'm talking about, Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, all the Tory ones as well, and the Labour ones have been utterly useless. Shabana Mahmood is a great self-promoter, loves to give an interview. She's got an eye for a positive headline, but she's just as useless as the rest of them, isn't she?
Well, I think the fact that there is a media hype about her being some kind of hardline Home Secretary, actually, it makes her even more dangerous, because people are prepared to maybe give her a bit more of a benefit of a doubt. But if you look at the sort of two flagship policies that have come out under her, the idea of clamping down on illegal migration by making it harder for them to obtain settlement and citizenship, not ruling out that they would ever get settlement or citizenship, but making it slightly more difficult. That was sort of given such a positive spin by all areas of the media that I think there really is this idea that Shabana Mahmood is the person to crack this problem. And then when you look at the settlement for legal migration and making it more difficult for the Boris wave to actually be able to stay in the country and impose long-term costs on the Treasury as well, even that actually masks what is going on underneath the surface, where there are so many off-ramps and it's so easy for legal migrants to still stay on a very expedited route to settlement. And that's before we even get onto the consultation, which has been hijacked by left-wing charities that are going to further water down the proposals. The whole thing really is smokes and mirrors. And I think actually at this point, the British people deserve a bit more truth from their politicians, because we're just being fed endless barrage of deceit and twisted figures, and this idea of 50,000 having been deported under Labour is a downright lie. But that doesn't stop Mahmood and her ministers underneath her in the Home Office parroting it endlessly. And unfortunately, this really masks actually the scale of the problem that is taking place under the surface.
Yeah, and when she announced her big crackdown and all the papers went, oh yeah, look, she's tough, she's going to solve the crisis, that was in early December. I think it was that very week, just about a few days later on a Saturday or something like 750 migrants came across the channel. So no deterrence, no chance of solving this crisis. Don't leave the ECHR, no chance of solving this crisis. That is the headline. Shabana Mahmood, the latest Home Secretary, who is worse than useless. Robert, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That's Robert Bates from the Centre for Migration Control. Next up, we're going to put Peter Mandelson on the psychiatrist's couch. I think he might be a psychopath. He might be a sociopath. He's probably a clinical narcissist, maybe worse. We will talk to a psychiatrist next and find out what he thinks about the psychological makeup of Mandy, the man we all love to hate. That next, stay tuned.
Say that, journals like the British Journal of Sports Medicine, which this article has been published in, have played their part in that. They are publishing this absolute nonsense. The fundamental sort of nature of these experiments is flawed because all these athletes can underperform. And it's also a gross insult to say that men who are hobbled by taking hormones or whatever are women.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. My next guest, some time ago, I had on to, shall we say, psychoanalyse Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. We also tried Meghan's Scam Jam together, so it was a very special moment, I think, in both of our lives. We didn't like it much. I thought we might give Mr. Mandelson, or Lord Peter Mandelson, the same treatment. Let's put him on the psychiatrist's couch and let's talk to narcissistic abuse recovery expert Richard Grannon. Welcome, Richard.
Hello, thanks for having me back on.
A pleasure. Well, before we talk, let's just play a little clip of Mandelson defending himself on the BBC a couple of weeks ago. A lot of water under the bridge since then, but here he goes.
Possibly some people will think because that I'm a gay man, I was sort of insensitised or I wasn't attuned to what was going on. I don't really accept that. I think the issue is that because I was a gay man in his circle, I was kept separate from what he was doing in the sexual side of his life.
So what he's doing there, Richard, is what he always does. He's lying. He's lying. But I've been saying, and I'm not an expert, I want to get your opinion, but it strikes me that Mandelson might be some kind of psychopath, a sociopath. You know, he constantly lies. He is, self-obsessed, always out for his own gain, his own welfare. And he's capable of being extremely charming, but he's also capable of being sort of ruthlessly sinister. Would you agree that he's potentially a psychopath?
I think, yeah, if we look at the observable patterns of behaviour, the pathological lying, the grandiosity, and the massive entitlement he clearly feels in instrumentalising people, using them and then casting them aside, and the game he's just played there where he's tried to distract the issue away from him lying about his relationship with Epstein to being about him being gay, which was never raised by anybody. It's psychopathic, it's narcissistic. I would say possibly it could be dark triad, which would be psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. So this is a person who believes that the end justifies the means, and how he gets there and who he hurts on the way, he simply doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be the story of his life. And you know, a lot of people who've encountered him, particularly in my profession, journalism, they say that this guy not only made life a misery for them, made life hell for them, he enjoyed doing it. What does that say about someone's character?
I mean, if it was a clinical setting and it was found to be true that he was actually enjoying causing people to suffer, then it would go beyond the dark triad to something much worse, which is they call the dark tetrad. So that would be narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and then sadism as well. Wow. So he's actually enjoying the suffering of other people, and that would be a very, very dark prognosis.
I mean, we've all worked with people like this in our offices, particularly in my profession. You know, there are these people who do enjoy the misery of others. They do enjoy the difficult circumstance, plunging others into difficult circumstances. They enjoy it. Now, Mandelson, that's what he did. He was called the Prince of Darkness. That's what he did for Labour. He was behind the scenes making life hell for any journalist who wrote anything he didn't like, any politician who wasn't playing, falling into line. He did all that. And everybody who was a victim of his Machiavellian ways just said he revelled in it. And that's a very dark characteristic to have, isn't it?
I would say so. I mean, I'm not myself a clinician, so I can't diagnose anybody, but I do study the literature in depth. And when I'm looking at an observable pattern of behaviour, and it's consistent across time, it's not just a bad day, It's consistent across time. It seems to be consistent across contexts. This is something that people are reporting, so we're hearing secondhand reports of him doing again and again and again across his career. And then what do you deduce from that? I mean, this seems to be part of his nature, part of his personality, part of his makeup.
And also there is this element to him. I mean, when he wanted to be, he could be incredibly charming, hence his ability to wind very rich men around his finger, as it were, figuratively speaking. So that's a facet of psychopathy, isn't it?
It is. It's one of the first diagnostic criteria. They talk about a glib, superficial charm, and that sits side by side with the pathological lying and the capacity to manipulate people. So in a clinical setting, apparently, clinicians can struggle with psychopaths because they find themselves being charmed and wooed by them. And that's high IQ people who know what they're looking for, and they can still fall prey to this. But I presume this guy has been studying how to do this for the entirety of his life. And you made a good point before when you said, you know, you are running up against people like that in your industry, in journalism, in media. There are plenty of people like this in politics, and you could argue that, well, you know, a little bit of callousness and strategic thinking is going to get you far. Yes, but he does seem to be higher than the baseline average of people in that space.
And good at this, clever at it. I mean, as I say, you know, he managed to inveigle his way into very high places and into very expensive places, and to line his own pocket. Narcissist as well?
Yes. So I see where you're going there, and you're right to say that because he doesn't have that impulsivity. He's actually quite self-controlled. He probably wouldn't qualify as a clinical psychopath because they're much more impulsive than he is. He's quite controlled. Now, where would he be getting that control from? And I think your intuition is correct. The control would come in from the narcissistic need to project the right image to others and to himself. And so then maybe clinically, clinician would say, we're seeing psychopathic traits that are comorbid with a narcissistic core.
And how will a person like this, now that he's been rumbled, the other element to his character that most people talk about, and I don't know how you fit this into this analysis, is this: that he actually enjoyed the danger. He enjoyed sailing close to the wind, being close to the edge, courting potential disaster. And of course, in his case, well, it's happened right now, and it's happened at least twice before. He enjoyed that danger. Is that commensurate with a psychopathic personality?
Yeah, needing that stimulation, needing to prove how clever he is, needing to prove that he's smarter than everybody else is narcissistic psychopathy, the adrenaline buzz. And I think we have to say, you know, the fact that he's gotten caught, I mean, he's an intelligent man. He's not handled this very well. In my view, they tend to be ultimately quite self-destructive. And I think what we're seeing here is that he's overplayed his hand, let's say, which is classic for psychopaths.
And, you know, I'm sure Mr. Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, as he still technically is, would disagree with all this and say he's a perfectly normal person, but I don't think he is. Given that we believe he's psychopathic, he's perhaps narcissistic, Machiavellian, as you say, he's got the lot. Now that he's been caught and rumbled, how will he be reacting to that behind closed doors?
Oh, the self-pity will be through the roof. It will be conspiracy. It will be everybody's jealous of me. I hope that he'll probably be telling a story to himself, to his husband, to his family. I elevated these people, and now do you see how they tear me down the first chance they get? The knives are out, and I'm being stabbed to bits here. So he will cope with this with a massive amount of self-pity and a big victimhood story. Again, that would be quite a narcissistic defense.
Interesting. And going forward, I mean, in terms of all these, what we think are psychological problems that he suffers from and always has, any cure for them? What could he do to make himself a better person? How about 10 years in Wormwood Scrubs? No, but seriously.
You'd really have to have a moment that cracked that narcissistic shell and created what they call narcissistic collapse, where he would have to feel like the game was really up. And in a certain sense, he'd have to genuinely and authentically repent and say, okay, I have done bad things with bad intentions. I've hurt people and I shouldn't have done it. But with this level of arrogance and entitlement, such a hard, strong narcissistic shell, I don't think it's likely, unless things get precipitously worse for him, because the news cycle is so quick. We'll have moved on to another subject within a couple of weeks and the spotlight will probably be off him.
I think we'll have this one for about another week, though, at least, until Keir Starmer resigns, which might be tomorrow. Richard, fantastic to talk to you. Thank you. So you'll want that as well. Richard Crennan there, psychiatrist and narcissistic abuse recovery expert. Next up, after the news, we're going to talk to Jake Wallace-Simon about the big stories of the day, and you know what they're all about. Peter Mandelson and Prince Andrew. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In half an hour, I'll be talking to rape gang victim Ellie Reynolds, who's got a lot to say about the government Labour's lethargy on dealing with the rape gang scandal. 250,000 victims out there, they estimate, mostly white, young, vulnerable girls, mostly victims of Muslim gangs, of men of Pakistani origin. Nothing happening. You know, they say, oh, there's going to be a public inquiry. When's it going to happen? Rupert Lowe's got his own crowd-funded private inquiry going on now, and that's bringing up some shocking revelations. But we'll talk to Ellie, and we'll get the story of the frustration of a victim in the face of this government lethargy over an issue of great injustice. Something needs to be done, and it needs to be done fast, but it's not happening fast. That in half an hour. First, though, let's talk about some of the big stories of the day to author and columnist, author of Never Again, How the West Betrayed the Jews and Itself, Jake Wallace-Simons. Welcome, Jake.
Hello, good evening.
Now, Keir Starmer. I want to talk about his future, his story. I'm sure you followed it closely yesterday, as I did, and indeed what he said today. Now, the essence of what he said in the House of Commons yesterday, to a shocked House of Commons, when Kemi Badenoch skewered him, he said this: when I appointed, I'm paraphrasing, but this is in essence what he said. When I appointed Peter Mandelson to be the British ambassador to America in Washington, I did know that he had continued a friendship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He also, due to the details of Kemi Badenoch's question, admitted that he did know that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's home in New York while Epstein was serving his sentence for paedophile sex offences. His story since then, and he was saying it this morning in Hastings, fighting his own battle for survival, his story is, well, yes, I did know that Peter Mandelson had a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, but he told me that he barely knew him. That's why I appointed him as ambassador. Well, I know for a fact that the intelligence services are fuming over Keir Starmer at the moment because they told him, don't give this job to this man. He is a risk. Starmer overruled them. But how can he say, well, he lied to me about the extent of his friendship with Epstein, said he barely knew him, whilst he also knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's home while Epstein was in prison? That isn't a distant relationship. That isn't a relationship based on people barely knowing each other. Do you see what I mean? Starmer's story does not hang together. He says Mandelson lied and lied and lied. Well, it looks to me as if the Prime Minister is lying now.
Yeah, Keir Starmer is tying himself in knots once again on this. He's U-turned so many times. I don't think he knew which way he was facing in the first place or even which way he faces right now. That's his method of government, it seems to me. Look, his latest comments seem to be that he's thrown or tried to throw the security services under the bus, blaming them for not vetting Peter Mandelson properly and saying that he only did his job, the Prime Minister, he apparently asked Morgan McSweeney to ask Peter Mandelson about his relationship with Epstein and was then fobbed off and said nothing to see here. I think that the British public smell what's going on. We feel that Keir Starmer is one of the least trustworthy prime ministers we've had in living memory, and that is saying something given some of the PMs we've had in recent years. And what it really boils down to is this culture of cronyism at the top of government in Downing Street. You know, Keir Starmer likes to do things with his old pals. Peter Mandelson obviously was known to him from the Blair years. We've had Jonathan Powell, who of course is his national security advisor, again from the Blair years, who has a very controversial, close relationship with the Chinese. Keir Starmer, of course, was in China doing deals last week. Now we've had Lord Hermer, his Attorney General, who goes back a long way with Starmer, and has prosecuted or tried to defend every single terrorist, it seems, that's come on prosecution in Britain, time and again been on the wrong side of the law of the case by his own motivation, it seems. And of course Philippe Sands as well, who's another silk who represented the Mauritian government trying to get their hands on the Chagos Islands, and Keir Starmer's old friends with him, and lo and behold is giving away the Chagos Islands, or trying to, with several billions in the bargain. This all feels rum to me, and I think to most the British public. Keir Starmer promised us, clean, grown-up politics. He then began by taking all that clothing and everything else from Lord Ali, and has ended up in this pickle with Lord Mandelson.
Exactly right. Now he's, not only is he facing fierce opposition from his obvious rivals in the Tory party, the Lib Dems, Reform, SNP, they're all out to get him. They all feel he can't carry on. But the big problem for him is so do, it seems, potentially the majority of his backbenchers, Angela Rayner circling almost with a dagger in her hand. He can't survive, can he?
I think it's going to be very difficult. I think it's a matter of when he goes, not if he's going to go. And, you know, like you say, the Labour backbenchers and ministers are circling. He's going to be stabbed, whether in the back or in the front, we don't know yet, but he's going to get it from one of them soon. I mean, Angela Rayner herself, hardly whiter than white, was sacked because of that stamp duty problem just recently. The whole thing is looking very, very poor indeed in the eyes of the public. You know, but in the end, Keir Starmer is the least popular Prime Minister since records began in the late 70s, before I was born. The Labour Party knows that. They're furious with what he's doing to the party and to the country, and they want to topple him and somebody else to take over. Now, my fear, really, is that whoever takes over is going to do an even worse job. They'll be more ideological, even more in hock to the left. I mean, who do you want? Angela Rayner? Ed Miliband? I mean, who is going to save our country? No one from within Labour, I'm afraid to say.
Do you agree with me? I think that what we're seeing now, this may be, I'm probably being over-optimistic, but this may be a kind of turning point. We may be at a crossroads in the way Britain works. I think what's on trial now is the establishment. Now, in the past, Mandelson probably would have got away with his antics for the rest of his life. Prince Andrew, as he used to be, would never have been touched because he's a member of the royal family. Peter Mandelson has worked at the highest echelons of government. Brilliant man, very clever man, so on and so forth. But thanks to the Epstein files, this sort of sewage has come spewing out about these people and about the way they operate, particularly Mandelson. Now, Mandelson, I would imagine, you know, may well be on his way to Wormwood Scrubs. He's certainly going to be investigated. He's going to be probed by the police, and potentially so is Andrew. So we've got something rather unusual. A former Deputy Prime Minister may well, I think almost certainly, will end up in court and could go to jail. And it is very possible, the way things are going, so will Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Given that this is the direction of travel, do you think that this may be a kind of sea change, that the establishment system is dying and that the people won't put up with this backslapping and, you know, looking after each other anymore?
Absolutely. I mean, people are sick of it. The British public has been sick of the establishment feathering their own nest, slapping each other's backs, all this cronyism and corruption for many, many years now. And Keir Starmer came to power promising an end to all that, and has then proceeded to show that he's even worse than the other lot. I mean, look at the alleged corruption that surrounds his administration. He's trying to give away the Chagos Islands on a deal with an old pal of his, Philippe Sands. He managed to kibosh the Chinese spy scandal, if you remember that, in return for doing some deal with the Chinese under influence of Jonathan Powell, his advisor, who is very close to the Chinese. He's cancelling the local elections in May to save the skin of his party and tried to cling on in defiance of the wishes of the British people to see him gone and to give the Labour the punishment that it deserves. And now he's really disgraced himself over dealing with Peter Mandelson and his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. If I'm not, you know, I'm lucky that I'm on TV now and not puking, because that's what I feel like doing. But I think people watching this at home are going to be feeling that same sensation themselves, doing a little bit of sick in their mouths as they contemplate Keir Starmer remaining in power. And if not him, then other Labour cronies who have their own stories of breaking the rules, of corruption, of cronyism. The whole thing needs to be swept out. And the question is, when is that going to happen? And is the new regime, whatever that is, going to be any better? I'm afraid I'm a bit cynical about all that.
Well, we can but hope. I don't know if you know this, Jake, but when Peter Mandelson was fired from our embassy in Washington, when he was fired as the ambassador, he was fired in disgrace when the first revelations came out about his relationship with Epstein. He was asked to step down, apparently. He refused. He dug his heels in and said, well, we'll have to fire you then. So he was fired in disgrace. Do you know that he walked away with a six-figure payoff, having been fired in disgrace? This is exactly the kind of filth that I think the British public are demanding ends. When Downing Street were asked about this, guess what their reply was? This is an HR matter. We do not comment on HR matters. I think, as a point of principle, it's imperative that the government gets that taxpayers' money back. Do you?
Well, I mean, obviously, it shouldn't have been given to him in the first place, but the government is his classic Labour government. It stands behind procedure, stands behind the rules and shafts the country as hard as it can in the process. That's how they operate. No surprises there. And, you know, Peter Mandelson, I mean, the other bit that really sticks in my craw about all this is that he walked away with that money, used some of it to buy a nice bottle of wine, which he then took round to George Osborne's place for dinner, and then he was pictured famously relieving himself against the wall just outside. So Peter Mandelson, George Osborne, two sides of the different sides of the fence, ostensibly, Tory and Labour, but, you know, chumming about in this multi-million-pound gaffes in London, relieving themselves as if they don't care about anybody else against the side of a wall in the middle of the street. Now this comes out with Epstein, you know, Starmer's party, the whole thing just stinks, and you're right to place your finger on the establishment. It's the establishment that's on trial here in the eyes of the public. And the question is whether the establishment will fall sooner rather than later, and what will replace it. Will it be reform? Will reform be any better? Nigel Farage said just today that he wasn't confident that he was ready for government just yet. I mean, this is, the country is at a turning point, and nobody knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I mean, another aspect of Peter Mandelson's checkered career, you know, he was for a relatively brief period European Commissioner or British Commissioner to the EU. Relatively brief period of time. He's on £31,000 a year pension for the rest of his life. I mean, they should get that back as well. But this is what we're talking about, isn't it? These people, these politicians, the Mandelsons of this world, for that matter, the Starmers and the Hermers and all the other people who do so well in the Westminster sort of bubble, I mean, they just feather their own nests with the most ridiculously generous deals, pay deals, pension deals, at our expense. And I'm just hoping, I know I'm being optimistic, I'm just hoping that this Mandelson scandal and the Prince Andrew scandal will bring about a change in all this, and perhaps will be governed for the people rather than the Mandelsons of this world feathering their own nest at taxpayers' expense.
That's right. I mean, you know, corruption always goes hand in hand with politics. And let's be clear, we're talking about corruption here, aren't we? A culture of corruption, a culture of narcissism, a culture of disdain for the ordinary people who go to work every day and prop up this government in order to take our taxes off us. So, yes, corruption is always there in government, but certainly it's gone too far now. These people are part of an old regime, an old world. Their time has come, but they don't know it yet. They're going to be kicked out on their ear. Something else is going to take their place. I hope it will be better. I hope that someone like Kemi Badenoch, for example, can use the experience and integrity within her party, learn from these establishment mistakes and put something in place that's better. Or maybe Nigel Farage will be able to pull it out of the bag and get some new blood into Parliament that do things differently. Either way, the old lot, their time has been and gone. It's curtains for them. We need something new that's going to represent the people properly with integrity. Are we going to get it? I'm not holding my breath, but I hope so.
Yeah, I do too. If you were a gambling man, sure you're not, Jake, but if you were, would you put money on Keir Starmer being gone by maybe the end of the week, but certainly by the end of the month?
I think I probably would, yes, wouldn't you? I mean, he's, you know, maybe it's wishful thinking. The thing is, it's sort of a case of be careful what you wish for, because I want to see the back of him. I want to, yeah, if I never saw Keir Starmer again in my life, that would be not soon enough.
Way too soon, yeah.
But, you know, what's going to come next? Do you want to see Prime Minister Angela Rayner? Do you want to see Prime Minister Ed Miliband? Do you want to see Prime Minister Andy Burnham even? I mean, who do you want to have instead? Labour is not brimming with talent, integrity and competence, is it? You know, I worry about our country being driven further into the mud through whoever takes over.
It is pretty terrifying. They say comedy is dead. You wait until Angela Rayner becomes Prime Minister. Jake, great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Jake Wallace-Simons there, author and columnist, author of Never Again, How the West Betrayed the Jews and Itself, and author also of Israelophobia, the newest version of the oldest hatred and what to do about it. Read his stuff in the Telegraph as well. It's a great writer. Right, let's take a quick call, shall we? Let's go to Cheltenham and talk to Lee. Hello, Lee.
Are you all right?
Yeah, good. Starmer. You say he's hiding something? Yeah, I think you're right. What do you think he's hiding?
When you look at the Kemi Badenoch yesterday, when she was absolutely rinsing him in the middle of the parliamentary...
Yeah, she did well yesterday, I agree.
Yeah, she did absolutely fantastic. And there's at one point where she actually said to him about having the ICS have a look at this, we must see what's going on with it. At the moment when she says that obviously the Cabinet Secretary works with Keir Starmer to try and make it independent, he drops his head and you can see that moment where you can see where his goose is cooked.
Yeah. Well, she also, she kept pressing him on. Did you know that Peter Mandelson had maintained his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of child sex offences, and he tried to get out of it, but to be fair to him, he eventually said, yes, I did. I did know that when I appointed him to the Washington ambassadorship, and that, Lee, was an incendiary moment. An incendiary moment.
And if everybody in the world knew about this that was going on and Keir Starmer didn't, he's blatantly lying about this.
I think he's lying. I agree with it. He's
absolutely... How this guy can actually stand up in the middle of Parliament and actually say that in front of all the parliamentary people in there, it's just ridiculous.
And when he did eventually concede that when he appointed Mandelson to the ambassadorship in Washington, when he said, yes, I did know about his friendship with him, there was this gasp from the MPs.
You could hear the pin drop in that place.
You really could, but then there was all these kind of sharp intake of breath, and I think in the future you may well look back at that moment as the moment that Keir Starmer's premiership effectively ended, and I don't see how he can survive after that. His story doesn't stack up. You're right, he's lying. Lee, good to talk to you. Thank you. Excellent call. Lee in Cheltenham there. Let's go to Leicester and talk to Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, Kev. I hope you're okay, mate. Just a quick one for me. I'm used to making some terrible predictions, so I hope this is one of them.
Go on then. Yeah, I make terrible predictions as well. Go on.
Let's hope this one's terrible. I don't think he will resign. He's got no shame. He's done worse things than this. He's got no shame.
I don't know. Look. These guys, people like Starmer, people in high office in Westminster, in British politics, in fact, in politics all over the world, they don't easily resign. They just come to a point where they have to accept their position is utterly untenable. That may well precipitate Starmer's resignation. Don't forget, Kev, he's lost the support not only of his backbenchers but his frontbenchers as well. The Labour Party is not supporting him. So he may get to a point where he realises it's just impossible for him to go on. He won't resign as a matter of principle. He won't resign, I made a terrible mistake and the honourable thing for me to do is to quit. He won't do it on that basis. He'll do it because his position is untenable and the Labour Party no longer supports him.
Well, I get that. I do get that, and I hope you're right.
He won't want to. He won't want to, Kev. But he may have to. I mean, let me put it this way. What you're saying is very viable. I just hope you're wrong, and you hope you're wrong as well, don't you?
I do. Definitely.
Cheers, Kev. Good to talk. Kevin in Leicester. When we come back, we're going to talk about Lucy Connelly, friend of this show. She was on the show only the other day. Turns out that when she was done for race hatred, posting hurty words on Twitter, she got 2 years, 7 months for 2 years, 7 months for a few hurty words on social media. That case was fast-tracked. So they really wanted to make an example of this youngish mum from Northampton who'd never had so much as a parking ticket before in her life. They really wanted to get her behind bars fast. It's disgusting, I think. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned. mistake.
Yeah, she has a point. She has a point. We have to do our bit, obviously. Like, we've become very insular as people. We have all this entertainment in our houses now. Like, when I was growing up, you got bored. You got bored and you didn't want to be in the house. You know, you had 5 channels to pick from and that was it. No Deliveroo or anything like that. So we do have to be more mindful and try and make an effort to step out of that. I know it's hard, but I like, for instance, do digital detoxes now and again.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Here's a text sent to me by Glyn. And Glyn says, Starmer, hi Kev, Starmer still thinks he's coated in Teflon, untouchable. Jeez, it's like watching Yes Minister, but on steroids. Great show. Thanks, Glyn. Yeah, I mean, he thinks he's coated in Teflon, but I think the effect of his Teflon may be fading fast. And there's a new YouGov poll out today saying that by 50%, 50% of Brits say that Keir Starmer should step down as Prime Minister, 24% say he shouldn't. 37% of Labour voters want him to stand down, 40% want him to stay. So 50% of all Brits want Keir Starmer to step down as Prime Minister. I'm surprised it's as low as that. Where do you stand? Do you want him to step down as Prime Minister? Do you want him to go? 03444991000. It was a sad sight to see when he was squirming away in Hastings today. I'm sorry, he lied to me. He lied. Like he's the victim. I'll tell you what Starmer did. He overruled the intelligence services who said, don't give that job to Peter Mandelson. He wanted to do it because Morgan McSweeney said you got to do it. Tony Blair said you got to do it. So he did it. Big mistake. Might be the end of his career. 03444991000. Let's listen to a quick voice note before I go to my next guest. This is from John on Starmer.
Starmer's only apologising because he's been found out. It's as simple as that. He's got to do the honourable thing and resign. But what caught me when he was doing his speech this afternoon is, along with his apology, where was his apology for the rape gangs in the north of England? Not a word said. Not a word being said about the poor innocent girls. It's just incredible. This man just keeps going from one disaster to the next. It's time he was away.
Well, by an extraordinary coincidence, in a little while, about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking to one of those victims, Ellie Reynolds, and she's got a lot to say about Mr Starmer and the Labour government that continues to drag its heels on the public inquiry that we demand over the rape gang scandal, which continues apace, by the way. Let's move on to our next story and get straight to my guest, Connie Shaw. She's the External Affairs Officer at the Free Speech Union. Welcome to the show, Connie.
Thank you, Kevin.
I want to talk about Lucy Connelly. Lucy Connelly, of course, kind of the poster girl for two-tier justice after the Southport riots. She posted something that she's not proud of. She's become a friend of this show. I've interviewed her several times. She's a very nice woman, a very intelligent woman. And, of course, she did tweet this thing after the Southport riots, saying, I feel physically sick knowing that these families have what they'll have to endure and she called for deportations in asylum seeker hotels to be set fire to for all I care. If that makes me racist, so be it. She realised that was a bit over the top, took the tweet down fairly soon afterwards, by which time 300,000 people had seen it. And she ended up going to jail for 2 years and 7 months for that. This is a woman who, before that, she's a young mum. She's experienced tragedy. One of her kids died. This loving mum of a 12-year, I think she's about 13-year-old girl, had never had before that so much as a parking ticket to her name. 2 years and 7 months. We learned today, even more shockingly, that her prosecution for allegedly stirring up racial hatred, she was persuaded to plead guilty to that. That was a mistake that she now realises. Her case was fast-tracked for approval by Lord Hermer. It was treated as an emergency charging decision under which specialist counter-terrorism prosecutors secured consent for Lucy's prosecution from Lord Hermer's office within 12 hours of asking for it on a Friday night. Well, why would they want to make such a special case? And I'm going to use a sort of sexist term here. For a housewife who lives in Northampton, who's never so much as had a speeding ticket before. Why would they want to make such a special case? Why was it an emergency to get Lucy Connelly into the dock?
Well, Kevin, like you say, if it wasn't already quite clear that the government, Starmer and Lord Hermer, wanted to make an example out of people who were commenting online about the Southport murders, the tragedy that it was. They were trying to make an example out of people. And of course, it wasn't a surprise at the time. The government's response after the murders was to post saying, think before you post. They said that online, and Lord Hermer himself said that these prosecutions were a stark warning to people that you cannot hide behind your keyboard. And like you say, the idea that this idea of an emergency charging decision, which comes under counter-terrorism powers of prosecutors, the idea that it was an emergency to charge Lucy Connelly when she had deleted her tweet, when she clearly regretted what she had done, is very questionable. Of course, Lucy wasn't the only one, because obviously she has become the poster girl because she received such a long sentence, but also, like you say, she did plead guilty because she was led to believe that that was the quickest way to get home to her family, because she was under the impression that she'd be waiting a very long time for a trial and would be remanded in custody for that time. Another thing that Starmer made very clear, that people would be remanded in custody if they were considered to be stirring things up online. And so it's not really surprising to hear this. However, it is a very stark reminder of what is reasonably considered to be the two-tier justice in this country, when, contrastingly, the CPS managed to get Lord Hermer's permission for the prosecution of Kneecap a day late, which meant that the prosecution didn't go ahead. And that's not to say that Kneecap should have been prosecuted, but it's to say that there was clearly a very different approach taken to people after the Southport murders.
And what this adds up to, Connie, is that Lucy Connelly was a political prisoner. She was in prison for political reasons.
Well, even in the sentencing remarks, the judge didn't just give a legal assessment of her views. He actually began to talk about why, in a roundabout way, why diversity is our strength in the UK. It wasn't just a legal assessment of her views, it was a political one too. It is entirely inappropriate for a judge to make any other judgment of someone's criminality based on the law alone. It should not involve anyone else's political views, not least from a judge. So, I mean, the whole way through the process, Lucy has been completely, screwed over here. At one point, the CPS misrepresented what she'd said in an interview. They claimed that she had said that she disliked migrants and that they weren't that children weren't safe around them. They later had to clarify that that wasn't the case, but by that time the damage had been done. There was also claims that there were other racist, apparently, tweets on her profile, but later the authorities said that that wasn't true either. So throughout this entire process, Lucy really has been made an example of and suggested that she is a much worse person than she really is, and she admits that the post was horrible, hence the fact that she deleted it. But the idea that we are putting people behind bars for the length of time that Lucy was, yet just recently we've heard that a migrant, an older gentleman, if you can even call him that, a 70-year-old man who sexually assaulted a 12-year-old, a judge has spared him jail partly due to his age. So whilst Lord Hermer said that Lucy's prosecution and that of others around the Southport murders was a stark warning that you cannot hide behind your keyboard, whilst you can't hide behind your keyboard in this country, according to another judge, you can hide behind your age if you sexually assault a child.
It's extraordinary, it really is. And, you know, we just should not be jailing people for hurty words on social media. I don't care what those words are. Lucy's words, she admits, were ill-advised, unpleasant, and, if you like, racially charged. But she is not a racist, I'll tell you that. I know her quite well now, and she just isn't. But, you know, OK, punish people if they go over the top with what they write on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, but don't send them to jail. I mean, across the pond in America, they are just looking across at Britain and going, what the hell is going on? They're right to be shocked, aren't they?
Well, precisely. I mean, there's firstly the idea that anyone could prove that this was about people's race. You know, there was nothing specific. You know, people who come over to this country of all sorts of races, maybe people of a similar race to Lucy if they were to come from a European country. So to argue that it was specifically a racist, that she was stirring up racist hate is a debate within itself. I mean, it's similar to Graham Linehan when he was arrested and the police claimed that they were, well, after they went back on the fact that they originally said that they were arresting him on suspicion of inciting violence, which isn't a law that we have in this country. They then said that they were investigating him for under the Section 3A of the Public Order Act, which is about stirring hatred up on the basis of someone's sexual orientation, which of course Graham Linehan hadn't even mentioned anyone's sexual orientation in a similar way that Lucy Connelly hadn't mentioned anyone's race. So there are very vague ways that our laws are written, that it kind of relies on being able to assume what's going on in someone's head without much proof for it. But of course in the US they have the First Amendment, which means that the only way that someone can be prosecuted for their speech according to the Constitution is if they intended to and their speech was likely to cause imminent lawless action. There is no way that Lucy's tweet was, one, intended to, the fact that she said for all I care and the fact she deleted it, or likely to cause people to go and actually commit the things that she alluded to in her tweet. The idea that someone would see that tweet and then therefore go out and do it, I think would be quite hard to argue, and that's why that, you know, obviously no one would condone what Lucy said, neither does she. She's very clear about that. But the idea that our government is going on about trying to reduce the backlog in the courts and their solution is to cut jury trials, when really we need to stop putting people like Lucy and Jamie Michael, for example, through the courts. I mean, Jamie Michael, he was actually reported to the police by a Labour staffer of Buffy Williams's office in Wales. It was a Labour staffer that reported Jamie to the police, and he was remanded in custody for 17 days for a video he made on Facebook calling for people to protest against legal immigration in the democratic way. He was acquitted in 17 minutes. For every day that he was remanded in custody, it took a minute for each day that he was acquitted by a jury. Had Lucy been seen by a jury, she may well have been acquitted. But now, if David Lammy gets his way, Jamie may not have been acquitted, and he may have been behind bars too.
Absolutely. And of course, Lucy was also, in my view, the victim of chicanery, legal chicanery, insofar as, along with a fair few other people who were arrested and charged after the Southport and riots that ensued after Southport, they were told, oh, if you've pleaded guilty, we'll go easy on you. Lucy pleaded guilty, and they gave her 2 years and 7 months. So they lied. They lied to many people who were arrested after those riots. It is all wrong. It is two-tier justice, Connie. Thank you so much for your time. Good to talk. Connie Shaw, their External Affairs Officer at the Free Speech Union. Let's go straight to break. When we come back, we'll talk to my friend, rape gang victim Ellie Reynolds. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, my friend. She is a victim of the rape gang scandal, Ellie Reynolds. Welcome, Ellie.
Hello, are you all right?
I'm good. Now, let me ask you this first. Keir Starmer, over the past few days, has been making a lot of play, apologising and expressing his sympathy for the victims of the girl victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So, it's the victims we have to worry about. They were sexually exploited. They're the victims of this awful man and what happened. Does that ring kind of sincere to you? Because it doesn't seem to me that Keir Starmer and his government are very committed to justice for people like you and the 250,000 or so estimated victims of the appalling rape gang scandal which continues to this day. What do you think about Keir Starmer and Labour's attitude to you and your fellow victims?
I think, rightly so, that he's apologised for the girls that have been victims of exploitation and rape from Epstein. But I also think that it's relevant that he apologises to his own girls and boys in his own country. You know my opinions on Keir Starmer. I don't necessarily like him. I think it's embarrassing how a 25-year-old victim of rape gangs has more minerals than what the man that's supposed to protect our country has. I feel like half of the time me and other survivors are out here doing his work. While he's apologising to girls in a different country, he really needs to have a look at his own.
Yeah, indeed. Now, the public, Rupert Lowe, you probably know, his personal or private crowdfunding rape gang inquiry is underway. Rupert got that going out of sheer frustration because of the delays in the government's public inquiry, the official one that never seems to happen. I can't for the life of me find any kind of date when it's supposed to properly start. Now, you were a part of that inquiry along with several other rape gang victims. You were the sort of victims panel, and you, along with others, resigned out of frustration over the whole business of this inquiry and the parameters which it would evolve under. Tell me about that.
The panel for the government, the Home Office and NWG Network, I mean, it was there for silencing, it was there for enabling the corruption. Basically what they were trying to do was silence everybody by finding out information that everybody had. I think Rupert's inquiry is great, however I still am very 50-50 on the inquiries, because I think an inquiry is more statistical. It's there to, you know, report findings, basically prove everything that we were saying has been right all along. I think with an inquiry, we need justice, and justice is accountability. And with an inquiry, it's not, you know, that easy to get it. So I'm still very 50-50 on that. I mean, it's great that the findings are coming out. It's great that people are giving evidence, but we need people's jobs lost. We need, you know, we need to be blunt pretty much. We need to say what corruption actually goes on in this country, what problems we have with forces, social services, etc. And the people, you know, they're just not fit to work there anymore.
No, quite. Now, just quickly, if you can, Ellie, tell the audience, my audience, your story.
So I was a survivor of a rape gang. I can't say too much because I've just reopened my case. I did my 4th ABE last week, but I was subjected to a lot of, from the years 2013 till 2018. I went through a hell of a time, and you can find my story online. I've spoke quite a lot.
Yeah. And you were groomed into this, and I guess unusually you do come from a loving family, so it does prove, you know, that the grooming system kind of coerced all sorts of girls into that evil web, including you, because you've got loving parents. You know, were a happy girl up there in Barrow, and you got sucked into all this.
Yeah, I think there's a massive stigma around grooming gangs that they only really target children that come from care homes, and it's not necessarily like that. I think what people need to be educated on is that grooming gangs operate in not just one way. That's the reason that they can operate for so many years. They will target anybody. They're not, you know, they're evil, and they've got many different avenues. They won't, you know... The only way that I can say it is when people think of grooming gangs, they think, oh, a vulnerable girl has gone for free drink, free drugs, and it's not always like that. And I think people really do need to educate themselves on how many avenues it can go down.
Exactly. Now, as I just said, Rupert Lowe, his independent inquiry is underway. He's got this together. He's launched this out of sheer frustration because of just how much the government seems to be dragging its heels, seems to be kicking the can down the road. Now, under pressure, he didn't really want to do this, but last June, it was the 14th of June, last year, Keir Starmer finally announced, yes, there will be a public inquiry. And you remember, before that, Jess Phillips and him were saying, oh, no, we don't need a public inquiry. We'll have a couple of local ones, that'll be all. 250,000 victims all over the country. So there was a report by Baroness Casey, Louise Casey, that then revealed the extent of what had happened and the awful ordeal that girls like you were put through by these awful gangs. So Keir Starmer eventually relented and said, OK, we'll have a national inquiry, a public inquiry into this. He didn't like it, but he's going to do it. That was June, last June. It is now February 2026. When is this inquiry ever going to start, do you think?
I don't think it's going to. You have to look at, you know, why doesn't he want one? I think they are well aware, the government, of what's going to come out. They're basically stabbing each other in the back at that point because they're more complicit than what people realise. I don't think they want it to come out. And I've heard on the grapevine that the inquiry through the government has fell through, it's collapsed. So... yeah.
Certainly looks like that. I mean, because you and your fellow victims, you were the victims panel, you quit because they started to sort of say, oh, look, we'll get this sort of former copper to be the chairperson of the inquiry. Oh, well, we'll get this social worker. These were the very types of people who let you down. Coppers, social workers, teachers, local politicians who just turned their back because to point the finger at the people who were torturing people like you, really, Ellie, they thought might make them look Islamophobic or racist. So these are the people who let you down, and the government was proposing that those very type of people should be in charge of the inquiry. That was the point where you thought, that I'm not going to be a part of this, right?
Yeah, I don't know why they expected us to be comfortable with sitting across from, like you say, former police officers, former social workers, and feeling that comfortability to be able to open up. We tried opening up years ago, and where did it get us apart from being criminalised, being accused of being racist, being called a liar? That was never going to work. And I think the reason that they had the survivors on the panel, which is just my opinion, I feel like when it all went skew-if, they could then turn around and say, well, we had the survivors on the panel, so it was, in my eyes, a tactic to pass the blame.
And what is your opinion, Ellie, of the safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips?
My opinion on Jess Phillips...
It's a family show.
Yeah, my comments on Jess Phillips probably aren't appropriate for TV, but I think that she's absolutely useless. I don't think that she's got a safeguard in her. Like I say, the victims and the survivors are practically doing Keir Starmer's and Jess Phillips' job in one, and it's embarrassing, really. I don't think that Jess Phillips is fit for her role. I think that she should have stepped down when she had the chance. I think it's an absolute mockery that she's still there, to be honest.
Ellie, you're still standing, and it's always great to talk to you. I will talk to you again very, very soon. Thank you so much. Always good. Ellie Reynolds, grooming gang survivor. She's become a bit of a friend of mine. Right, let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about sport with Jake Sanders. He's the sports news editor at The Sun. That next. You better stick around.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's find out what's going on in the wonderful world of sport with sports news editor at The Sun, Jake Sanders. Welcome, Jake.
How you doing?
Good. It's all going on at Newcastle. Sandro Tonali was furious and tried to storm out of an interview. What's going on there?
Yeah, so Tonali, this is not what Newcastle needed after the whole Alexander Isak saga last summer. Tonali went through the mix zone last night after Newcastle's game at Man City, was asked a few times by a journalist for an interview. He sort of snubbed them, and then he was heard venting to a Newcastle club official something in Italian, which he wasn't best pleased about. And this came after he was linked with a move to Arsenal on deadline day, and he also was pictured speaking to Pep Guardiola. Manchester City also want him, so it's not looking good for Newcastle, and it's not really what Newcastle fans would want to see.
And, I mean, is the implication there that Sandro wanted to go to Arsenal and is sort of fed up that that deal fell through?
Not necessarily. There's no sort of implications that it was Arsenal, definitely. There's no actual implications that he definitely wants to leave Newcastle. He's still got a contract for 2.5 more years, and Newcastle will demand a big fee for him. But Newcastle's form's not great. You know, he's one of the top midfielders in the league. They're 11th in the Premier League, and, you know, out the cup last night, so maybe they're not in a position which he wants them to be.
What's going on at Newcastle, Eddie Howe and all that? Why have they gone off the boil? I mean, they were pretty hot for the first half of the season.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a difficult one. I don't think they've fully recovered from losing Isak. They bought in Voltemala and Visser for big money in place of Isak, and it's just not really happened this season. I don't know whether that's because, you know, they're in the Champions League again and there's more games, and they've suffered quite a lot of injuries, but they've just not been able to have that spark that they sort of had last season, which won them a trophy and got them in the Champions League, unfortunately.
Yeah, Pep Guardiola makes me laugh. He loves doing that, doesn't he? He goes up to the most valuable player in the opposition, puts his arm around it, has a long chat.
He knows where the cameras are as well. He's got a bit of a history of doing that
every time, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then they asked him about it, and he said, "Oh, you know, we've got a mutual Italian friend, and I know his father, and you know, he was telling me how happy he was at Newcastle."
Yeah, and then they say, "Well, would you like him to come to Man City?" Well, you never say never, and all that kind of stuff.
He knows what he's doing. He's
talking about problematical players. Christian Romero at Spurs won't be punished for his latest dig at the club. What is his latest dig?
So he said it was disgraceful that Tottenham only had 11 fit players available for last weekend's draw with Manchester City. Slight dig at the owners for not splashing the cash in January and giving Thomas Frank some more players with you know, quite a massive injury crisis. This is the second time he's done it. He had a pop at the owners early January after a game at Bournemouth, and there seems quite a lot of unrest there. He's been strongly linked over the last year or so to a move to Atletico Madrid, and maybe this summer, despite him signing a contract at Spurs last summer, he'll finally leave Tottenham.
And, I mean, do you think Thomas Frank, I think they'll hold on to him, but do you think he'll go at the end of the season? Unless
Who, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Spurs are not doing great at all, but it seems like they, you know, if they were going to sack him, they would have sacked him by now, and things are starting to slowly look up with some good results in the Champions League, so they might just sort of ride it out to the summer now.
He's been good in Europe, but bad in the league. England will play New Zealand ahead of the World Cup. That is going to be a pre-World Cup friendly in Tampa on June the 6th. It won't be very good if we lose that, will it?
Well, it's England-New Zealand. It's not usually what you expect in football. It's more of a cricket or rugby fixture.
Do you know what I was reading this? Is this football?
I know, and they're quite ironically the football team are called the All Whites, which is quite ironic because obviously the All Blacks are the rugby and the cricket team. Yeah, I mean we should be, you know, beating New Zealand quite comfortably. We've not played them for sort of 30+ years, so it'll be quite interesting. And then we'll be playing someone else before the World Cup starts. So. The preparations are really ramping up ahead of the US this summer.
What generally speaking, Jake, are the prospects for England in the World Cup, do you think?
With the pool of players we've got, and obviously someone, you know, as talented as Thomas Tuchel, you've got to think that it should be semi-finals is minimum. Anything less than semi-finals, despite this bigger World Cup, anything less than semi-finals, I would see as a massive failure. Semi-finals is par, and a final or winning it would have to be seen as a positive.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice if we actually finally won. I don't like the way we sell it. Oh, we got all the way to the finals. Oh, we made it to the semi-finals. Yeah. Second is for losers. That's the way I see it. But I don't follow international football. I'm a big football fan, but I'm not that close with international football. Who are the big teams that are going to win the World Cup?
Well, Spain are the favourites. They're obviously won the Euro. Spain are the favourites, and traditionally, historically, South American teams have done well. I don't think a European team's ever won on South American soil. So your usual suspects, Brazil and Argentina, if Messi's going to be there, which it seems like he isn't.
Is he going to play again?
Yeah, potentially.
How
which is
old
quite
is he now?
38, which is quite. You know, he had that whole fairy tale in Qatar when they won it, and now. He might play again, so it's a bit of a...
Ronaldo's not going to turn out for Portugal, is he? 41?
Yeah, I think Ronaldo's got a last World Cup.
He'll be at the next World Cup
It's his birthday today, Ronaldo, actually.
Is he 42? It's 41
or 42, yeah. So they're somehow both going to be there, despite, you know, they were at a World Cup 20 years ago. So.
Amazing. He's still playing football. He's almost as old as me. Jake, that was fantastic. Thank you very much, Jake.
Cheers,
Sanders there, sports news editor at The Sun. When we come back after the news, I've got some great guests. First up, it is Rupert Lowe, independent MP. We'll talk about his rape gang inquiry and what he thinks about Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson. That next. You better stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Wave goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye, Chagos Islands. It was nice to know you. It was nice to own you, but we don't anymore. President Trump, Donald Trump, has given his approval to us handing the Chagos Islands to China's best friend, Mauritius, at the knockdown bargain price of minus £30 billion. We're going to have to give them £30 billion in order to give them the Chagos Islands. I know, it doesn't make any sense to me either. We're going to give the Mauritians so much money in order to hand them these islands, these very strategic islands in the Indian Ocean that they have never owned, and they're 1,300 miles away. They're about as far as London is from Marrakesh. We're going to hand them to the Mauritians, and we're going to give the Mauritians so much money, £30 billion, that all Mauritians will no longer have to pay income tax. That's what our Prime Minister thinks is a good deal, and his human rights lawyer mate, Richard Hermer, the so-called Attorney General, cretin that he is, Jonathan Powell, idiot, and so on and so forth. So thanks, Donald. Donald Trump has given his approval. It was part of the contract. We have to have America's approval in order to trade away this island. Donald Trump has given his approval. So farewell, Chagos Islands. It was nice to know you. Let's go over to my first guest of this final hour of Drive Time. Really pleased to have him on board. He is the independent MP for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe. Welcome, Rupert.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right. Now, a quick word from you on what I just broke, the news that Donald Trump has given his approval to the trading off of the Chagos Islands. I'm not happy about that. Are you?
No, I'm afraid it's a big mistake. I guess he's not paying for it, and I suspect that Starmer's told him a pack of lies, which he's bought. So the question is it the last act of a surrender monkey of a Prime Minister who has generally made a complete mess of almost everything he's done? As you quite rightly say, it's basically a bunch of human rights lawyers indulging their fantasies, and unfortunately the British public are going to be paying for it. As you already know, their standard of living is under threat. It makes absolutely no sense at all to be giving money. We actually paid Mauritius to drop all their claims on the Chagos Islands in the 60s. We paid them £3 million. And we documented that they were happy with that. As I've said in the past, arguably the Seychelles and the Maldives have got a bigger claim on the Chagos Islands. And ultimately, the Chagosians do not want to be governed by Mauritius. So Starmer bangs on about,
sovereignty, doesn't he?
Sovereignty issues elsewhere, but yet, as far as I'm aware, the Chagosians have not been consulted on this one, because I think they probably give him the wrong answer, or the answer he doesn't want.
Exactly right. It's interesting you said that no doubt Two-Tier Keir was lying to Donald Trump, because his penchant for lying is, I think, becoming something of a national crisis. And of course, I need to ask you about his current circumstance and the Mandelson affair. I've been pointing out, and I'm sure you noticed that, I assume you were in the House yesterday. Now, what Keir Starmer said in that dramatic moment when Kemi Badenoch, to her credit, skewered him, did you know that Peter Mandelson had maintained his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after his prosecution and conviction for child sex offences? Yes, I did. And with that knowledge, he still appointed Mandelson to the very key position of ambassador to the United States of America in Washington. He has since said, oh, well, the thing is, Peter Mandelson was lying to me. He said that he barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. But Starmer also knew that when Epstein was in jail serving his prison sentence for paedophile offences, Mandelson stayed in his Manhattan home. That is not what somebody who barely knows someone does, is it? So it seems to me Keir Starmer's story doesn't stack up. He's saying he's a victim of Peter Mandelson's lies. I think he's lying.
Well, I was in the House yesterday, and I made an intervention, and I listening to the debate, I made the observation that this filthy evil which is being uncovered, it shows you the importance of freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And I said we owe a debt of gratitude to Elon Musk, who effectively, I think, has single-handedly secured free speech for everybody. A lot of the Zuckerberg platforms have followed since, but there were howls from the Lib Dems and Labour, who I think prefer a censored media. They want to be able to control everything, and I personally think a lot of this is down to obviously the Americans. I think Elon Musk has played his part. I spoke about Mandelson in the House previously, which where I asked the Prime Minister literally, will he show us the documents that were effectively scrutinised before he was appointed? Because I'm old enough to remember Mandelson perpetrating lots of misfeasance in public office over his mortgage with Jeffrey Robinson. And, you know, he's had a roller coaster of a ride. He has had Trump describe him, I think, in less than, I can't remember exactly what he called him, but he called him a very unpleasant name. And Mandelson said some very unpleasant things about Trump. So he was not only is he a chancer, he's also not the right man to be looking after the most important relationship that Britain has with any one country in the world. I'd like to just say, though, that I think this Epstein issue is incredibly important to all of us, because I think, whereas I think Mandelson and I think Andrew are now the sort of figures of public hate, which everybody would like to sort of continue to criticize. I think this is actually the beginnings of the unwinding of what I call evil at the center of global government. Yeah. And I was quite interested to read that some of the people in the media are already starting to suggest that, just because those people went to the island doesn't mean they're a criminal. Well, to that I say, just because you go to a bordello doesn't mean you've gone there for a cup of tea. So I think this is an absolute global scandal. I think it's the tip of the iceberg, and I would like to see the UK government requesting of the US government all of the unredacted material that pertains to politicians and people in positions of influence in the UK. And I would like to see the whole lot of them brought out and shamed and removed, not from any position of influence, and if necessary, sent to prison. I think this is a pervasive evil, and I'm seeing it with the grooming gang inquiry, where I see equal evil being covered up daily. I can't talk too much about the grooming gang because we haven't finished yet.
No. I do want to ask you a question about that in just a second. But can I just ask you this? Keir Starmer, it's quite clear in two instances now, in terms of the mega Chinese embassy in the heart of London's financial district, just across the river from where I am now, right next to the Tower of London, overruled the advice from our intelligence services that this was not a good idea, and he gave the Chinese permission. So he overruled the intelligence advice there. It is also clear that he overruled the intelligence advice that Peter Mandelson, due to his continued friendship with a convicted paedophile, was not the right man for the job of being our ambassador to the United States of America. He overruled that as well. Both of those situations, I think, make our current Prime Minister's position untenable. Do you expect that this will topple him out of number 10 Downing Street? Do you expect him to go before too long?
Well, I think he's been completely undermined. He's already, I think, to some extent, lost the support of some of his thoroughly unsound backbench MPs who would rather have somebody like Angela Rayner in charge. And God help Britain when that happens. I think that will be a very painful 3 years if she does take over. But I think it will be the final nail in the coffin of Labour. From what I'm seeing with the grooming gangs, which is even worse than you can imagine, and the barrister on the case said he has never in his entire time at the bar seen such horrific witness statements. So Labour are responsible largely for a lot of this grooming has been happening in Labour seats, and it's linked as we know, to voting for Labour, block votes, the Islamic vote. I can't tell you, Kevin, when the report comes out, it's going to be dynamite. And, it's our intention to pursue private prosecutions because clearly the state doesn't take this seriously enough. It never punishes failure. And fortunately in this country, we do have the private prosecution. And let me tell you, we intend to use it. So look, with Starmer, I cannot for the life of me understand why Peter Mandelson was appointed as the US ambassador. It didn't make any sense. It's almost a sort of legacy of this Blairite cancer, which is effectively plaguing us now. As you know, I have this picture of the wretched man standing on the doorstep of number 10 with "things can only get better" blaring out. Well, let me tell you, that period and those four men, Blair, Brown, Campbell and Mandelson, are responsible largely for the destruction of Britain over the last 25 years. And they deserve to be held to account for that. I am increasingly annoyed and concerned that nobody did anything to stop them. And now I think I'm seeing evidence that our institutions, our judiciary, almost every organ of the state, I'm on the Public Accounts Committee, I see the permanent secretaries, I see the lack of respect they have for taxpayers' money. And I see this Fabian agenda, Kevin, which most of Britain simply doesn't understand. And if they did understand it, they really wouldn't want this to happen to what was a fantastic country.
Absolutely. That's Keir Starmer over the past few days, as he squirms and desperately tries to cling on to his job, has made great play of, offering. This is all about Epstein, offering sympathy to the victims. It's all about the victims, justice for the victims, and so on and so forth. Now you've got your
to which I was shouting across the chamber, what about the grooming gangs?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. He's very verbose and effusive in sympathy for Epstein's victims. Now, I just had on as a guest on this show half an hour before you came over, Ellie Reynolds, one of the victims of the rape gang scandal, who was on this victims panel, part of the government's alleged public inquiry, and she, along with her fellow victims, quit in disgust over the lethargy with which the government was approaching this important inquiry. It's still not happening. She has no idea when it is going to happen. She didn't like the parameters. She didn't like the fact that they kept proposing that the chair people and the people presiding over these proceedings would be ex-coppers, ex-social workers, ex-teachers, ex-local politicians, the exact people who let them down in the first place. So Ellie is furious. She applauds you for your independent rape inquiry, but she says to me, when on earth are this Labour government going to give us justice with this inquiry, a decent inquiry? Because Labour have made it clear right from the start they never were keen on this. They finally, against their better judgment, announced that there would be a public inquiry last June. No sign of it ever happening so far. What is going on there, Rupert?
Well, all of them, I think bar one, voted against having a statutory inquiry until we set up our crowdfunder. And the reason I did it was I was sitting next to Nigel Farage when he said he promised one, which he didn't have, so we did it. And the answer to your question is I don't think this statutory inquiry, it'll be a bit like painting the Forth Road Bridge. There will always be obfuscation, delay. There will always be effectively reasons why it hasn't happened. And I suspect it won't be, the conclusion will not be reached until after the next election. So they know that what's going to come out of any statutory inquiry is so damning, and we're seeing this, that effectively it's going to destroy Labour forever. But I'd just like to say, our crowdfunder, funded by 20,000 concerned people in this country, and by the way, they're still contributing now because I've said we're going to do private prosecutions with the money we've got left. And with the £600,000, I was a donor, despite the fact that Emily suggested I was going to make money out of it. I've actually given money to it. I give my time for nothing, and I'm a donor. I'm a substantial donor. So we raised £600,000, and I can tell you, we've done a lot of work already. We've got all the witness bundles. We've done this with some volunteers and people who are concerned, like me, about what's been happening for 25 years, about which the authorities have done less than nothing. And we're going to have money left from £600,000 to pursue these private prosecutions. If I tell you the J inquiry alone cost £186 million, you have to say, Kevin, the British people are being taken for fools by the state.
COVID inquiry. The COVID inquiry, Rupert, is costing around about £200,000 every single day. So you're absolutely
It's just
right.
enriching the lawyers who are part of the problem. It's the lawyers, the law, the judiciary. It's all of these puerile little people who have become far too powerful. They don't deserve either the public respect or indeed the incomes that they're currently generating. And until the general public realise that they're being hoodwinked, the country is going to continue to go slowly down the gurgler. And people have got to wake up, and I'm hoping that the outcome of the rape gang inquiry, we should have a comprehensive report by April or May.
Okay, I was going to ask for that, yep.
We haven't messed about. We've got a fantastic barrister doing it, Graham Smith. I've been there all 4 days, not all the time, because I've had to do some public accounts committees, but I've been on the panel at some point over the last 4 days. And I'll be there next week as much as I can as well. We have got a fantastic team. We've got dedicated people who are concerned about the fabric of our nation and about the neglect of basically almost every organ of the state, and that's the civil service, the police, social services, the NHS, you name it, they failed. And nobody is prepared to address this. So I'm hoping that when that report comes out, people will be sufficiently shocked that they are going to start to take interest in what's happening. And I hope that the party responsible for that gets absolutely eviscerated at the next election. And the party that gets elected with the support of the British people can actually then address this cancer which has been eating away at Britain for 25 years.
I think you're exactly right. I think what's happening, I was talking about this earlier in the show, I think this is we may be at the crossroads. I hope we are, and it is right now the establishment system that is on trial, and I hope it is annihilated, and this country starts to be governed for the people and not these political elites and lawyers with their noses in the trough.
The state, Kevin, has become the enemy of the people.
I agree with you, absolutely agree with you. Great to have you on the show, Rupert, always a pleasure. Rupert Lowe, MP, independent MP for Great Yarmouth. Let's go to break. Have we got voice notes? Yes, we have. What have we got? Oh, here's Rob on Mandelson.
Kev, the cover-up started already, ain't it? The Intelligence Committee, Security Committee, yeah? Can't publish a timeline on when they can get this information out. They're all corrupt, Kev, and I'm sick of it, because it's us little folk who have to suffer, ain't it? And Keir Starmer saying he didn't know, right? Oh, he did know. Everybody knew. Them just covering it up, and I'm sick of it. We need change, man. We just need something different apart from corruption. Kev, I'm sick of them, mate. It just makes me so angry.
Yeah, with you, Rob. I'm angry as well. I've had enough of it too. We need to drain the swamp. We need a better country. We need this country to be governed for the people, as I was just saying. Right now, it's being governed for people like Mandelson and lawyers, who are getting 200 grand a day at the COVID inquiry. They're taking us all for a ride. They're taking us for a ride. It's got to end. Here's Lee on Mandelson.
With all of this going on, oh my life. I mean, obviously, all the awful things that have happened to young people, to the young girls and everything like that is terrible. But I'll tell you something, this is more interesting and more entertaining than a Netflix documentary. It is unbelievable. I'm sitting here waiting with bated breath to find out what the next thing is. The establishment is so on trial here. And I just can't help but thinking, and I keep going back to Little Britain, with David Walliams, the dodgy MP that used to come out the front of his house. I went into a toilet with a young Rastafarian man to discuss policy, that sketch. And it's just what it's like. It is so dodgy. This is a house of cards. And I just wonder if Mandelson's going down, how many people he's going to take down with him. It is gold.
Let's, I mean, I hope he does take a lot of people with him, but we have to wait to see, don't we? Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk to barrister and commentator Stephen Barrett. Stick around.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense.
Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Guess who's in the studio? It is barrister and commentator Stephen Barrett. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you in the studio. Now, I need to ask you about the big story of the moment. Keir Starmer squirming this morning in Hastings, waging his own battle for survival. You know, sorry, I didn't know, Mandelson lied to me, and so on and so forth. It seemed to me that yesterday, under pressure from Kemi Badenoch, he admitted that when he appointed Mandelson to the key position of ambassador to the United States of America, he said that he did know about Mandelson's continued friendship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and he also knew that while Epstein was in jail serving his sentence for those offences, that Mandelson stayed in his Manhattan, New York home. But he was trying to maintain, old Starmer, this morning and yesterday, oh, well, I didn't realise that they were that close. He told me that he barely knew Epstein, but he also knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's home while Epstein was in jail for paedophile offences. If Mandelson barely knew Epstein, he wouldn't be staying in his house. Starmer's just lying, isn't he?
Yes. So and let's check the time. Current Prime Minister is doing what all these weak left-wing people now do, which is immediately playing victim. So he's immediately trying to claim victim status. He got very pretend angry at to us he's just Peter, and got all frothy and sort of stamping his little foot and tried to pretend that he'd been lied to.
To us he isn't just Peter, I'll tell you that.
No, to everybody else he's the Prince of Darkness. But,
and a lot more, yeah.
and so it's ridiculous that he tries to play victim, but that is what they do. That is their pattern of behaviour. They do awful things, they then get found out, and then they claim victim status and pretend that somehow they are the victim. He is not the victim. That's not how prime ministerial vetting works. So vetting, for your viewers and listeners, is a perfectly sensible approach. Most companies will do it, political parties will do it, and of course the government does it to make sure that somebody who's getting an appointment isn't going to embarrass them in future. Now, it's very important in our system that vetting isn't absolute. So even if MI5 and MI6 said we really don't want him, which is what it looks like they said, it is right, constitutionally, that the Prime Minister can override that, because otherwise they run the entire country, not the Prime Minister, which would be constitutionally wrong.
Yeah.
But the fact is that it therefore falls upon the Prime Minister to behave sensibly in doing that. And I'm minded of one time, so HOLAC, which is a vetting committee of the House of Lords, failed a lord called Lord Cruddas, Lord Peter Cruddas of Shoreditch. Boris overrode that and said, no, Lord Cruddas is perfectly acceptable to be a peer. He has since then become one of the top 50 taxpayers in the UK. You know, a lot of people that wealthy just don't pay taxes here. They become non-dominant, non-domiciled. And he's one of the highest attending Conservative peers. So that was right. That was a time when a Prime Minister was right to override vetting. But they have to take it on the chin. If Lord Cruddas had proved a wrong-un, Boris would have had to swallow that. And I'm afraid in a way that shocks absolutely no one who pays any attention to politics over the last 20 years, Peter Mandelson has proved an utter wrong-un, and Keir Starmer has to own that.
Two questions to you, one as a commentator, one as a barrister. It's clear that Keir Starmer overruled the intelligence services here in Britain twice. One about the Chinese mega embassy. They said, don't let those Chinese build that embassy in the heart of our financial district. It will be a threat to national security. Keir Starmer overruled it and gave that mega embassy the green light, the go-ahead. And it is now clear that he did exactly the same with intelligence service advice about Peter Mandelson. They said this guy has got a friendship with a convicted paedophile. He has a very dodgy past. He's been in trouble so many times. You can't give him this job. The Prime Minister overruled them. Now, because of the Mandelson case, surely, given what's happened since then, Starmer's position is untenable, isn't it?
Yes, Keir Starmer should resign. That's why I made the sort of pointed gesture of looking at my watch. Yeah. He really should be gone by now. It's absolutely disgraceful.
I thought you just bored being with me.
What time is it? It is disgraceful that he's not resigned. It's absolutely weak, pathetic and cowardly. It just confirms how weak and pathetic the man is.
Yeah.
And already, at least, I mean, I'm paying attention 100% of the time, but at least two of his MPs, so I don't mean to deny any others who might have done it, but at least two of his MPs have called for him to go.
Yeah, and I think there are many more. The backbenchers and even the front benchers, I think, realise that this guy's game is up. He's got to go. Now, let me ask you, as a lawyer, would you relish the chance to be the prosecution barrister taking Mr. Mandelson to the cleaners?
So I never liked doing crime at all. I did actually do
but
it.
hypothetically.
I think, and I don't think I'd be appropriate, but
would you like that
I'd like
case,
to
though?
watch.
I would.
I'd like to
I'm not
watch
a
the
lawyer.
trial.
I'd like it. I'd love it.
I'd like to watch the trial, and I think that there ought to be prosecutions. We must never presume guilt, and we are not presuming guilt. And I genuinely don't think we were. But they're so defensive now that they're going. At some point, Keir Starmer's going to falsely accuse somebody of presuming guilt and breaking the contempt of court because he's got nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
It's like with releasing these papers. It looks to my eyes, and of course this may be entirely false now, maybe inaccurate, but it looks to my eyes as though the Metropolitan Police were encouraged to suggest that actually he can't release the document.
The cops always say, "Oh, you can't see that because it might harm our investigation."
Yeah.
Somehow or other, I think we should be able to see them. But let me ask you just about another couple of incidental stories that I'd like to get your take on. First of all, a Welsh secondary school, the Brinteg School in Bridgend, which has around 1,600 students, has confirmed that its new policy will come into effect at the start of the next academic year in September, and that is that girls will be banned from wearing skirts. They'll have to wear trousers in an equality diversity drive. What do you think?
Well, that's the opposite of equality and diversity, and those girls almost certainly have a case, which is a slam dunk against that school, and the school is being absolutely ridiculous. We all know what this is. This is some attempt to impose morality police. Women, again, there are two canaries in the coal mine once communism gets unleashed.
Yeah.
One is Jews. You will see anti-Semitism once you live in a communist or socialistic society, as we do, as we see it now.
As a matter of fact, by pure coincidence, we got a lot of anti-Semitism going on
Pure
now.
coincidence. And the second canary in the coal mine are women, because these people are made up of weak men, Kev. It's fundamentally, when you look at a socialist and you find somebody like Keir Starmer, he's a fundamentally weak man. These are pathetic men, and they are often scared of or resent women. They don't like women. They don't like intelligent women. They won't accept that women should be free, and so you find women start to get oppressed. And this is just the beginning, just a first baby step in oppressing women. This will be making them all wear trousers. How utterly ridiculous.
Absolutely. So to hell with you, Brinteg School. They're going a single streamlined uniform reduces pressures on families, removes unnecessary distinctions, and ensures every pupil can feel comfortable and confident. Well, a female student, a girl, should have the choice whether or not they want to wear a skirt. Actually, male can as well, as far as I'm concerned. It should be a matter of personal choice. This is tyranny, folks. This is tyranny. Now, from tyranny to madness. A university worker has sued the University of Manchester because he's come to retirement age, was about to claim his pension, and he has realised, he's a vegan, and he has realised, oh my God, that his pension scheme did not invest purely in plant-based businesses. So he sued the university. It went to employment tribunal. I mean, the good news is that claim was kicked out. But what a lunatic.
Yes, and I like to praise good judges. So Judge Rachel Barker is a good judge, because occasionally I have to say rude things about judges because they're behaving badly. So I always like to counter that by praising the good ones. She did absolutely the right thing and kicked this out. But where this is, Kev, is where we've got to. They're using hyper-liberalisation, the idea that adults can do anything they want, and adults can get their own way in society. And it's not really for that. It's to bring society down. It's to cause collapse. This is completely insane. Why does this individual think that his politics can be imposed upon our pension scheme? Why? Well, what about my politics? Okay, I let's say I love koala bears and I want my pension invested in koala bears. Can I do that? It's just an insane idea of control when at the same time, Kev, we are losing control of our lives.
Now, there's another element to this. He assumed, or he wanted, a Sharia pension because he was a Muslim. So this was the basis of his action. It was religious. You know, I'm a Muslim, therefore I'm a vegan, and therefore I claim my huge amount of compensation because you didn't invest in vegan businesses. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It is. So Islam, Judaism and Christianity, I mean, it's a wonder that they keep falling out because they're all versions of the same thing. There's a prohibition in all of them against lending. Obviously Christians don't take that terribly seriously now, but we used to. The Jews don't take they may not have a prohibition on lending. So we used to bring in Jews to be the bankers, force them to be the bankers because we thought that we couldn't do that morally. Islam has a version of against banking, but it's against lending. It's about borrowing money. I don't understand the idea of a Sharia pension because pensions don't borrow money.
Well, to be fair, again, this was a good judge because she pointed out there's no such thing as a vegan pension fund, and he eventually accepted. Well, I guess there isn't. But hey ho. Who said comedy was dead? Stephen, fantastic to see you again. Come in again, see me again soon. I gather you're working for a living, so we'll have to get you in later.
That's all right, then.
Terrible when you have to do that, isn't it? Stephen Barrett, the brilliant barrister, he'll be back in the studio as soon as I can get him in here. When we come back, let's find out what is in the pages of Britain's favourite newspaper, The Sun, tomorrow. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Here we go. Ready. Now, in the studio, it's Associate News Editor of The Sun, Alex West. Welcome, Alex. Let's talk, first of all, about, I think your big story revolves around Man United tomorrow. But let's talk about this guy who can finally get his hair cut.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, if you've missed this story already, as I say, we've got an amazing splash and spread tomorrow about Manchester United, which every football fan in the country will want to read about. It's brilliant. I can't tell you any more than that.
No.
But what I can tell you...
Careless talk costs exclusives.
It does. Loose lip sinks exclusive ships.
But anyway,
if you've missed this story, it's utterly brilliant. It is a Man United fan who said that he wasn't going to get his hair cut until Man United won 5 games in a row. He's gone 500 days now. His hair is bouffant.
Yeah, he's got like very frizzy.
It's getting longer and longer. It's going to end up down on the floor. I mean, he's still got another 2 games to go. But apparently the Man U players have spotted this all on their socials, are very well aware of him, and have all been saying, come on, we've got to win, we've got to do it for this bloke. So they're actually backing themselves to save this guy, get him a haircut, and he's going to donate the hair for charity when he gets it done.
You've got to buy him up when they get to 4.5 games and then get the haircut.
Do the haircut for him.
It gives him a great spread, that'll be. Frank Eilert, who now is sporting the biggest afro in history due to the fact that Man United winning 5 games in a row has always been a hell of a long shot, but right now they're on the edge of doing it, partly at the expense of my team, Fulham, so I don't wish them well. Let's move on. Obviously, we've been covering this all day. Keir Starmer downing Hastings today.
Yeah.
As I say, Labour Communications Department, don't let your Prime Minister go to Hastings on the day that he is in a battle for survival. The sketch writers, the journalists are going to have a field day
We all knew how it ended in 1066.
Exactly.
But it doesn't look like it's quite ended for Starmer yet today. Has he managed to get out of this at the moment? The question, I think, is, you know, if there is a battle for leadership, how does that come about? Who is going to be the person, the person to take them on, and where they get that support from? So, you know, we've got all of that tomorrow. We've got exclusive poll stuff as well, and all the commentary around that. But also, it comes as our journalists have been working.
Yeah, you've been going through the 3 million.
Yeah, millions of stuff, and it's really hard to go through it all. So we've been searching. We've got a whole team of crack people going through it, and we've got some amazing new revelations tomorrow.
Interesting. You've unearthed new emails.
New emails that haven't been seen, talking about his involvement, talking about business deals that he was asking Epstein about, asking Epstein to actually doctor his speeches that he was going to be giving, and this very creepy email where he says, I had a dream about you last night, and all this stuff. So, his involvement there will be exposed further yet.
Yeah, when I was on The Sun many years ago, probably you weren't even born then, we used to do a regular feature. Whoever was in the news, we used to put them on the couch, the psychiatrist's couch. It's the sort of thing you wouldn't be allowed to do these days in the newspapers, but I did it today. Got a psychiatrist and we put Mandelson on the couch.
Oh, brilliant.
He said he was he was a psychopath, a narcissist, a sociopath, a Machiavellian, and probably a sadist too. So he's got it all going on. You should put him on the couch yourself.
Absolutely.
Now, you've also apparently, I read here, got amazing new revelations about Prince Andrew and that famous picture of him walking through Central Park with Epstein.
Yeah. He later then claimed that, you know, he was only there to say, you know, they were going to cut off ties. That was the only time during that weekend that he met him. And we've been through the emails and we found yet more examples showing actually the level of the extent to which they hung out that weekend and did things together, involving movie stars, involving famous people, dinners, and all this sort of thing. So, you know, lots of detail there.
It's going to be a blockbuster issue of The Sun tomorrow,
always
folks.
Always is.
We haven't got too much time left, Alex. Let's go straight to... I've just got an intriguing headline here that I've got to get the details on because I haven't got them here. A Quackers council spent £7,000 on duck crossing signs, despite there being no ducks or duck ponds anywhere near the village.
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Absolutely, just you know, very confused residents in a village in Essex, where the council have paid £7,000 to put up a warning duck sign, and yet there's no duck pond. There aren't any ducks, and nobody can understand why they've done it.
Well, you know what that council can do, don't you? Duck off. Alex, great to talk to you. What an issue of The Sun it's going to be tomorrow. Some great stories there. Man United all over the front page if you're a Man United fan. Brilliant stuff about Mandelson, Epstein, Prince Andrew. What more do you want? The Sun firing on all cylinders. That tomorrow. Thank you to Alex West, Associate News Editor. Next up, we're going to be taking your calls. I'll read some of your messages, maybe some WhatsApp voice notes. Who knows? Much still to come. Stick around.
Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense.
Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Unsurprisingly, Peter Mandelson has been dominating the WhatsApp voice note scene today, and here is another voice note on Mandelson, and this one is from Ian. Take it away, Ian.
Just a quick question. Mandelson's profited from disclosing private, confidential information to Epstein. Surely there's a case now for the state to actually take all of his assets, sell his house, and basically take all the money away from him and put it back into the government coffers.
Well, Ian, it's an interesting point you're making there. It seems to me that Mandelson is in a world of trouble. He is at the centre now of an official police criminal investigation, and, you know, I would suggest that he may be heading for Wormwood Scrubs. As for the money he's made over the years, who knows? What I would say about this is there's a lot of talk, oh, he will be prosecuted for malfeasance in a public office. He certainly seems to have broken a few of those rules. But, you know, it depends what your definition of a state secret is. If you know, communications between a prime minister and a minister, emails, you know, talking about sensitive, you know, financial legislation in Europe, etc., etc. You know, you could argue that's a state secret. If that is a plausible argument, then he could be done for treason. But even malfeasance in a public office can carry a maximum sentence of life. And if he does get found guilty of any of these offences, I don't think he'll get a light sentence. I think he better get ready to iron his prison pyjamas. Right, let's go to the phone, shall we? Let's talk to Liam in Bedfordshire. Hello, Liam.
Yeah, hello. My point would be, Keir Starmer was head of the CPS, correct? Surely he's had experience of people that genuinely will lie. And how can he not determine truth from fiction? He knew exactly what had gone on, and if he didn't, he clearly wasn't very good at his previous job, let alone this one.
Liam, where do you think the Prime Minister is lying on all of this? I agree with you. I think he's a liar, and I think he's lied his way through this Mandelson scandal. Where do you exactly think he's lied?
Well, he had a fact base, correct, as any prosecuting barrister would have, that was put in front of him. I can't believe that was deficient, and therefore he knew exactly all of the information that we now know, and he still made those choices. And where he overstepped the mark was appointing Mandelson in the first place, thinking he may get away with it.
Well, I mean, you know, he's sort of... His story doesn't stack up, because as I keep saying, yesterday in Parliament he admitted that he did know that Mandelson had continued his friendship with Epstein after Epstein was convicted of paedophile sex offences, and he also went on to sort of admit that he knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's home in New York while Epstein was in jail. And he then went on to say, the Prime Minister went on to say, you know, Mandelson lied to me, and he said he barely knew Epstein. Well, if Starmer knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's home, in his house in Manhattan, then he would have known that it wasn't a case of Mandelson barely knowing Epstein. Do you see what I mean? His story doesn't stack up.
I completely agree, Kevin, and I'd love I don't know, Keir Starmer to prosecute Mandelson.
I love that idea. That would be funny, yeah. But I can't see that happening. But that would be an excellent idea. Liam, thank you for an excellent call. Liam in Bedfordshire. Let's go to Karen in Derbyshire. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very, very well. What would you like to say, Karen?
Kevin, where's the circus that's got the seals that were applauding him this morning?
Those were the journalists, weren't they? I think it's just this sort of weird tradition.
All sorts applauded him as if he did something wonderful this morning.
Yeah, I saw that, Karen.
Giving him the seals.
Yeah. Why were they applauding? I couldn't agree with you more.
That's what I couldn't understand. The man is as crooked as 10 bob note.
10 bob note. A 9 bob note, you mean? That was the expression.
He doesn't lie straight. He just...
Well, I think he's trying to lie his way out of this mess, and it's not washing because his story doesn't stack up. I mean, if you look at the elements of his story, it just doesn't hang together.
He did this. He did know him. He didn't know him. I do know him. No, yes, I can say.
Look, I would say, Karen. Look, even if Mandelson said, "Oh, I don't really know Epstein that much." My question then would be, yeah, but did you maintain a relationship with this guy after he was prosecuted for child sex offences? And if the answer was yes, no matter how flimsy your relationship with him was, you can't be the ambassador in Washington. It's as simple as that. But the truth is that he maintained a very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and the fact he got appointed to that key role, our man in Washington, is a disgrace.
I'm sorry, but they all should go. He's had corruption, he's had this.
I think he's going to go. I don't see how he can survive this. I really don't.
The Luna Bin's asking Fred Miliband back. So.
Yeah, well, they can have him. Unfortunately, I think we've...
You know what I mean? There's been nothing honest about this party. There's him. I will clean up sleaze. I will clean up...
Well, they're not famous for their honesty. Karen, good call. Thank you very much. Karen in Derbyshire there. Let's go to Joel in London. By the way, hello, Joel. Alex Phillips will be in a little while. But what were you going to say, Joel?
Hi, Kevin. A great show. Great to be on. I just wanted to say I was unbelievably offended to hear Starmer talk about national security.
Exactly.
His tone. This is the man who is the only achievement from his appalling premiership is going to be giving away British territory to an ally of China and paying £35 billion for the privilege. That is it. That is the only policy achievement of the appalling Starmer premiership. So, which is directly against the national security of this country. I mean, we can go on about what he's doing with Northern Ireland as well, but the fact is, for this man, who is, I think, probably the most anti-British Prime Minister we've ever had.
Yeah, I don't think he likes this country. I agree with you, Joel.
No, to be talking about national security as an issue, the reason for him not disclosing the fact that he essentially knew that Mandelson was mates with a convicted nonce and then decided that he was the right man to be ambassador. I mean, there's nothing else to say other than that, frankly. The man has to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are issues of national security, and what we do know is that Starmer overruled our intelligence services twice. Once when they said, don't for God's sake let China build a mega embassy in the middle of the city of London in our financial district. He overruled that. And the next one was when they said, don't for God's sake let Peter Mandelson become our ambassador to Washington because he is a security risk and he's got this friendship with a convicted paedophile, a dodgy businessman, Jeffrey Epstein, and guess what? Keir Starmer, two-tier Keir, overruled that again, and I agree with you, he is a threat to our national security and he's supposed to be our Prime Minister. What a joke. Joel, thank you for an excellent call. And she's in the studio. It's Alex Phillips. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good. Right, that's been a great show. Bye. You will be steering the good ship talk from 7 o'clock until 10 p.m.
Well, the Costa Concordia steering it into the riverbank.
Do you still call it the Political Asylum, my old show? Because that title suits you.
Thanks. Well, yeah, I don't get to choose anything in this place. I just do what I'm told.
Yeah, well, they gave it that name because of me, so it suits me. Yeah, it doesn't suit you though, eh? What's coming up?
News.
Okay, that's good. What sort of news?
The stuff that's been in the papers today.
You're going to help me here. We've got a minute and a half to go.
No, I'm quite enjoying this. It's almost
I know. You give one-word answers.
Actually, prove your journalistic skills, your interviewing skills with a very difficult subject.
What will you be saying? What will you be saying about Keir Starmer? Do you think, seriously, Alex, do you think he can cling on?
Do you know the strange thing is be careful what you wish for, because what comes up in the wake of his absence? Can he cling on? Quite possibly, because he's quite belligerent. He digs his heels in, blames everyone else but himself. So in that regard, he's not going to sort of be pushed out easily. But, you know, you were talking about him being a threat to national security. The list is endless. You've got Ed Miliband, you know, sabotaging our fuel supplies,
our
concreting
economy.
over... all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. They have got their sort of radical left-wing sixth form agenda, and it is like saying to someone with lung cancer, here's the cure, a packet of cigarettes.